Oh, welcome one. Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how fantastic Moab is in Toyotas, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Tyler, and joining me for another episode back here on the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast, episode 599. Holy shit.
Holy cow.
The one and only Jimmy Jett. Welcome, buddy.
Hi, how's it going? Welcome back.
I got hammer lung.
You got Moab lung.
From Moab. Yeah. It was kind of like, I don't know, the weather was awesome.
I bet.
It was amazing. It never got into 80 degrees. It was like 75 to 80 the entire time.
Dude, perfect.
Breezy. So like even on, if you're standing out in the middle of the sun because there's no shade in Moab, you're not really hot.
Okay.
But that also meant with the breeze came dust and everything. So
yeah.
So I sound a little funny today.
Yes, you do.
But and I apologize for the coughing that you guys are inevitably going to hear at some point on the show.
Yeah.
But well worth it.
Totally.
So, yeah.
We're going to get some fun stories of Moab.
Yeah.
We're going to hear some trail adventure, maybe some carnage. I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk a little bit in a little bit about some updates with Samantha.
Sweet.
But before we get there, we have a little bit of housekeeping to do.
We do?
Yep. Let's see. So when this podcast comes out, Gift Box tier is closed.
Ooh, wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah. So hopefully you guys got in to the Gift Box tier if you wanted to be, or hopefully you left if you wanted to be.
Yep.
Whatever. It's up to you. That is fine, but we'll have to next week. We'll do the drawing for the winner of the gift boxes for the month of April. Since it closes on Thursday, we're recording 2 days prior, so we can't do the drawing yet because there's still some people that need to get in.
Traveling.
Travels.
Yep.
Which is always fun.
Yep.
So on Thursday next week, we will have the giveaways for the gift boxes to 2 lucky winners, and we'll get those decided. We are working on something for May still. It's unsure if it's going to happen yet. If not, we'll have something. We always have a backup plan, whatever it is. But we'll find out here shortly, and then hopefully by next week, we'll have an answer if our game plan for May will happen.
Yep.
So keep your ears open for that one. We'll cover all that stuff, I guess, next Thursday.
Sweet.
Okay.
Sounds good. We did have our 700 reviews person reach out.
Yes, we did.
Did we get them confirmed?
We did. We got them confirmed.
Awesome.
I think I said, actually, so I did mention this last week because I think I said I sent the package out.
Oh, cool.
And I hadn't yet.
Oh.
So I will get that done hopefully before Thursday.
Yeah.
It's a Snail Squad member of ours.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's cool that they've been listening for 2 years and are still listening today and are up to date enough to respond, I think within one day.
Within a day?
It was like a day of that episode coming out.
Nice.
That I got a response and a day or so to get the confirmation. And then, so I came in, I grabbed everything. I went home with the intention of shipping it all out since you weren't here to do the shipping side of things. And then I got sidetracked. So Sam, I will go home and send that stuff out ASAP.
Nice.
Yeah. So congratulations to Trail Bear Sam out there for winning the swag pack with the Onyx Elite membership. I did also mention on, I think it was Monday's podcast that just came out with Toyota Jamboree and Steven, that the Yokohama tire giveaway that we're doing at 750 is coming up quick.
Yeah, it is.
I've just looked actually because I was messaging Yokohama to forewarn them that the tire giveaway is coming up.
Yep.
And we're currently sitting at 703 reviews. So there is a chance for
47 more?
47 more people. Or 47 more chances for yourself, one or the other, to get in for the Yokohama tire giveaway. So once we reach 750 reviews, we're giving away a set of tires from Yokohama. So that's fun. And then I did tell people that once we get to 800, we have more Onyx Elite memberships to give away. Cool. And so another swag pack from SnailTrail4x4. So the giving's not going to stop.
Nice.
We're going to continue giving.
We got lots of stuff.
As long as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of you is going to get this, what was that chip up there? That ultimate, the super spicy chip challenge.
Yeah, the 1 chip challenge.
1 chip challenge. We got one of those somebody might receive. Sam, if you want that one, let me know.
Perfect.
But yeah, so 47 more entries until the tire giveaway. You have a 1 in 750 chance to win a set of tires from Yokohama. Big thanks to Yokohama for doing that. I don't know. Anything else?
I say let's jump into kind of what we've been up to. I think this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode.
Yeah, so. I mean, you've got a whole week of stories to talk about, and I have like a very short update.
Yep.
So we'll do that.
Sweet. We'll take a quick break. You'll hear from, I guess, Jimmy or I talking about our experiences with Onyx, and then we'll be right on back with a fun week full of activities and what Jimmy and I have been up to. So take a quick break. We'll be right on back.
Are you stuck inside? Are you not sure where you want to go to explore? Well, open the Onyx Off-Road app. It shows you all the trails around you, and it tells you their difficulty. Now you can quickly search out your next adventure or plan your next trip. Download Onyx Off-Road from the App Store. Onyx Off-Road, built for the adventurer.
Welcome back, ladies and gentleladies, to today's What We've Been Up to. I went to Moab.
Yes.
For Cruise Moab.
I'm jealous.
We'll dive into that. There was a lot of people there that were like, where's Jimmy?
I'm sure.
One person said, where's Tyler? And I was like, I'm right here. He goes, oh, I meant, where's Jimmy?
That's funny. Was Shy there? Did you meet Shy?
Yes, Shy was there.
Oh, yep. Shy, I'm sorry, buddy. Yep. Oh, I miss you.
So yeah, there's a few people there.
All those other people I don't miss. Just Shy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, just kidding. Rob.
There was a few people. There's some fun stories, but I think we'll start with working on Samantha.
Yeah,
you got some Samantha work done.
I did get a little bit of Samantha work done.
Sweet.
I for the most part, I only had one. In the last 2 weeks, I've had 1 week of updates for it because the 2 weeks ago, and we haven't really talked about this, I was prepping for my Easter party.
Oh, yeah.
And I had no free time. There was spring break for the kiddo, spring break for the wife. We were full force getting ready for the Easter party. And we had a blast at that. And nice. You showed up for the first time. Congratulations. You got the invite. I've got one other friend that now has another baby on the way, and I told him next year he's going to get the invite. Nice. So the Easter party went great. We had a lot of fun. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was a lot of people.
There was a lot of people.
I don't like crowds.
Yeah.
That's my big problem, right? Is I don't like sitting in the middle of crowds for some reason. I just get really anxious in the crowds. But otherwise I had a really good time. I love the way you guys do the beer hunt.
Yeah, the beer hunt's fun.
Except I have a gripe about it.
Okay.
I was down. I'd found 5 beers.
Oh, so I already know your gripe.
Explain how the beer hunt works.
So so we do an egg hunt for the kids, and everybody brings a few eggs, and then my parents make like 20 something eggs. I think we ask everybody to roughly bring 6 eggs, and then my parents made like 20 eggs. I think we made about 20 something eggs, and then a lot of people bring more than 6 eggs. Mm-hmm. So then we count up all the eggs, and then we count up how many kids there are, and then we pull a chunk aside and organize like, okay, I think this year every kid got like 12 or 13 eggs. So they could go out and do their hunt, and they get they have to find 13 eggs. And then this year we had money in them, which we haven't had in the past. And I also put 10 $1 scratchers in them, nice. Which was pretty fun. And as far as I know, one person won $5 on a scratcher. I didn't hear of anybody else winning anything.
Nice.
So after the egg hunt goes, all the parents hide the eggs for the kids. We have a few parents that are up in front holding all the kids back, which is when you walked in. Yeah. So I'm sure it was chaos going on. I
walked up and I was like, this is kind of weird. There's like 50, 60 kids or something like just hanging out in here, blowing bubbles, playing with the basketball hoop. I was like, but there's like no adults anywhere. Is this like the kid play area and the adults are just lounging around in the back of the house? What's going on?
Yeah. And then you came around and I was walking back because we're in the thick of like, okay, how many kids do we have? How many eggs do we have? How do I figure this out? And I was like, hey, you made it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Does Reed want to do the egg hunt? And you're like, no, he's too young. We'll do it later next year or whatever. So anyways, we let all the kids, first we let like 5-year-olds and younger go.
Okay.
And they pick up they literally run and pick up the ones on the grass.
Okay.
Like I tell everybody, just put some on the ground.
Yeah.
Like it's okay. You don't have to hide them strategically. Just set them on the ground.
Yeah.
So then these 5 and younger
you guys
kids
done that for the beer hunt.
Yeah. Right. They run around and the 5 and unders pick up the ones on the ground. And then we release all the older kids and they find the ones up in trees or in bushes or whatever. And they have I think it was 13 that they had to find.
Uh-huh.
So they all find that. And then we wait a little bit and then we do this beer hunt. So the beer hunt goes, every parent brings a 6-pack, and a lot of people, I asked them to bring like bottles because then you get your own little carrying case. Yeah. Some people brought like 6-pack of cans and some people brought like the clicking kind, which doesn't work as well because you're probably getting a bunch of bottles because everybody's brings their carrier. So then we send all the parents to the front of the yard and all the kids hide all the beer for the parents.
Yeah.
And then the kids take their 6-pack carrier back to their parent. Mm-hmm. And once all the beers are hidden, then we release the parents to go hide the beer and they have go find the beers. And they have to find 6 beers. So you go and you get a variety pack of beer in the yard, out of the yard, and you fill up your 6-pack.
Yeah.
So that's how the beer hunt goes. And it's usually a big hit. Last year, the assistant's stepdad gave us a 6-pack to hide from him. Okay. And then he was having some medical problems. And so he didn't come to the Easter party. Uh-huh. And then a kid hid his 6-pack.
Okay.
But then nobody found his 6-pack. So last year we were finding beers in the yard for like a year. Yeah. And while somebody was hiding Easter eggs this year, they found a beer that has been hiding for the year. Yeah. That was super funny. Yeah. So this year we had all 6-packs accounted for. I think there's still one beer out in the wild though, because was it you? Somebody.
It was me.
Somebody didn't find one beer.
That was me.
Yeah. Anyways, so what was the gripe?
So I was going around. I got my 5 beers fairly quickly. Okay. And then I was going around and I could not find a 6th one. Yeah. And so as I'm going around, I didn't realize that we could like start going, hey, I only have 5. I need one more kind of thing. Because you started doing that. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, that's part of the game then. You can go around and because there was also kids running around finding the beers too.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
And so like the kids were going around, they wanted to play, hide, and find the beer. Right. Mm-hmm. And so this one kid was walking around with 2 beers in his hand.
Oh, really?
And he was 9, 10 years old, maybe.
Okay.
And so I go up and I'm like, hey, I only got 5. Can I get one of those? And he kind of looks at me like almost scared. And he goes, no, these are for my dad. He really likes this kind of beer. So these are for my dad. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll keep looking around. Mm-hmm. So I keep looking around. I still can't find a 6th beer anywhere. And pretty soon this kid starts, I'm kind of over like in the ivy in the back of the yard.
Sure.
And there was a couple other groups kind of near me looking through the ivy. And the kid walks up to one of the 2 groups and says, hey, I got 2 beers. Does anybody need one?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that same kid. And I looked at him and I was like, oh, I guess his dad didn't want him. So I let the 2 groups decide if they wanted him or not. And they took 1. Yeah. And so the kid turns around, starts walking away. And I was like, hey, I still only have 5. I haven't found my 6th one yet. Can I have that one? Yeah. And he goes, no, I'm going to go ask other people. And I was like, what the fuck, you little shit?
That's funny.
So I never ended up getting a 6th beer. I went away with I think 5.
That's funny. Yeah. I wonder who that was.
I don't know. Yeah. But I don't know. It might have been, I don't know if he ever handed that last one off to somebody. I just was like, whatever, I'm done now. I've been dejected so hard. Yeah. I'm just going to go sit down and wallow in my pity.
I'm sorry. I'll bring you a beer. I don't know if maybe he put that one down in a bush somewhere and nobody ever found it, or he did give it away and there's still one more in the yard. I'm not sure. But somebody brought Mickeys, and the Mickeys were a hit.
Yeah.
Everybody was searching for Mickeys.
Oh, that's funny.
Which was really, I was like, Mickeys, like that's what I was drinking way back in the day.
Yeah.
And then everybody, it was a nostalgic beer. So everybody's like, I want the Mickeys.
That's funny.
And they're in the little green grenades, and they were hiding it in the green. And it was, everybody was like, oh my gosh, it was, yeah. So that was funny. Anyways, moving on. Easter party was a success.
Yeah, that was fun.
We had a lot of fun. We're always shocked about like sort of once the activities are over, everybody leaves, and we're the assistant and I are always like, why doesn't anybody want to stay and hang out and have just continue hanging out?
Yeah.
But everybody just bounces. But anyways, that was that. So then the following week, Friday rolled around. Husband took Friday off because he was maxing out his vacation. So he's like, I need to take a vacation day. And I was like, I need to work on Samantha. You want to hang out? And he's like, absolutely. So we started working on the trailing arms because I ordered taps to be able to tap my my drag link and my tie rod and maybe the panhard bar. I don't know if I'm going to need to tap that one, but that's probably going to get Heims, but I have those taps anyway. Besides the point, I ordered taps, but the taps aren't going to show up for like another week at this point. Yeah. So it was like 2 weeks when I ordered them. Mm-hmm. And the only place I could find 23 millimeter taps was Amazon.
Yeah.
Nowhere else. Like I called Lawless Corey and said, hey, I know you're hooked up with Walter. Let's see if Walter's got one. I checked Granger. I had people looking everywhere to find some 23 millimeter taps. Nobody has them.
Wow.
And so Amazon was the only one that had taps for 23 millimeter taps, which I thought was very odd. I guess most people, if they're doing this, they'll just throw the pipe in a lathe and they'll just create their own taps.
Make it themselves.
Yeah. And they don't tap the bar.
Okay.
But I don't have a lathe. So anyway, so the taps aren't here. So I couldn't start the steering process or the, figuring out where everything's going to go in the steering to continue to work on the front 3-link. So what do? We start working on the rear 4-link.
There you go.
One of the things that has to get done is we have to make these trailing arms so then we can start putting everything together.
Yep.
So the trailing arms aren't difficult. Like it's not a construction project, say, but man, there's a lot of welding. There's so much welding. I was like, oh, it's not going to be that bad. And I think I hit the duty cycle on my welder at least twice. It was pretty ridiculous. Yeah. And some big welds in there, which was fun for me because I really haven't done much of that. Mm-hmm. So my welding's getting better.
Nice.
Which is a good thing.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun. So there's a main like ridge or a spine that goes down on the inside of the trailing arm.
Okay.
And then there's sort of these pieces that you connect to the side of it. So you weld that in, and that sort of makes the spine of it. And then you put the outsides on it to make its frame. And then you weld in like the ends. And that's the gist of it. But just setting it up and welding it out and doing it all. One of them took Hussman and I from more or less 10 a.m. to about 4 p.m.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it was there was some downtime. We went to lunch. We were talking. We let there was some cool downtime on the welder, a little bit of time of just sort of figuring out how to do it, looking at it, talking about where like I can't exceed this point because it's going to be covered. And so if I weld beyond that point, then I have to grind it down. And there's just a lot of little things that we were talking about as I was doing it. And at first I was like, well, I'll just film this. And then I was like, well, let me just do the first one and I'll film the second one.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did because I know a lot more tips and tricks now for doing one and then going back, I'll film the second one. So I haven't done that one yet, but that's my to-do list this week is to weld up the second one. Still waiting for these taps to come in. I ordered a piece of tube from Hot Metal Fab and that came in the other day. So I go pick that up so I can start cutting everything to length. Heck, maybe I'll just cut it there because he's got one of those horizontal band saws.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll do that there, cut everything to length. And then once the taps come in, I can start tapping everything and I can set up the tie rod, the drag link, and maybe start working on the panhard bar.
Nice.
And then I can play with where everything's going to end up. So that'll be fun. But yeah, it was a lot of fun welding up the trailing arms. So
Nice.
that was cool. It was fun to hang out with Hussman for a bunch of hours and get a lot of work done. So that was it was a good week last week. So and then recorded all the podcasts and everything. So
did you get any? I assume you got images. Took some images of the trailing arms. Have you posted them? Yeah,
I haven't posted them. Actually, that's something I wanted to I wanted to talk to you a little bit off air, but since you brought it up,
I brought it up.
I'll chat real quick. I did have a listener reach out and said, where are the photos? Right? Because we've been talking about Samantha and he's like, where are the images? And I've been sort of holding back posting the images because my thought was, well, once the video's released, I'll post the photos with the video.
That's fair. Yeah.
But I'm almost now to the point of like, well, maybe I'll just snap a whole bunch of photos and I'll just release some now and I'll release some when the video comes out.
Yeah.
Because I think we're talking about it on the podcast. It's relevant. People are going to want to see it.
Yeah.
I'll post those up. Also, when the YouTube video goes up, I'll post the photos up then as sort of a promotion to go watch the video.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how I'm going to do it
that makes
from
sense.
now on.
Yeah.
I don't know because I don't have an answer for the best way to do it, but I think that's what I'm going to do.
I think a little bit of both would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I snapped a few photos of like the process and then I snapped a bunch of photos of kind of the finished product.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's fun. It was good.
That's fun.
All right. I want to hear about Moab. I want to hear about your trip out. I want to hear about the family. I want to hear about the trails you went on.
Yep.
I want to hear how easy you thought Fins and Things was compared to Pritchett. And then the Morflate sponsored run on Saturday of Metal Masher.
Yep.
With the Morflate Metal Masher run.
Yep.
That's a good, what do they call that when both things?
Alliteration.
Yep. Good job. I'm excited to hear about it all.
Yeah, it was a busy week. Typically Cruise Moab is busy anyways when we've gone in the past, right? We're just kind of always doing something. And it was worse this year. I don't say worse. It was more of that this year because I had the in-laws there and a 14-month-old too, right? So, it was good though. It was a great week. I went out for a full week. So I drove out, was it Monday morning?
Yeah.
Monday morning I left. And so I left at 5 a.m. Monday morning.
Okay.
And the wife, kiddo, and the in-laws were going to fly.
Okay.
So they were going to fly from Sacramento to Salt Lake City and then rent a car and drive from Salt Lake City down to Moab.
Oh, okay. There's an airport in Moab.
Yeah, but there's not good. I don't know about good car rentals in Moab, I guess. I don't know. So they wanted to have a car while they're down there. That way they can get around. So they got a car in Salt Lake City and went down from there.
It's still like a 4-hour drive.
It's still a 4-hour drive. I think the main concern was we weren't sure how the 14-month-old was going to do in the airplane.
Yeah.
And they would prefer to have him screaming in a car with just them than screaming in an airplane with 100 other people. Sure. Right. So, the flight, actually went really well.
Oh, good.
We took the car seat, or she took the car seat, with her and put it down in the plane chair and then him in the car seat. And apparently he slept the entire time.
Good.
Yeah.
Because little ones have a hard time adjusting their ears and the pressure.
Yep.
And, I think the only way I've ever seen somebody get through that is kind of giving them food.
Yeah.
Because chewing on something and swallowing and snacks like helps adjust that pressure.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm glad he slept because then wasn't an issue.
Yeah. Apparently he was really scared going into the airplane. Like he stopped at the door and started whining. He didn't want to go in. But on the return trip, he went right in and had no issues with it.
Okay.
The return trip, the people that were sitting behind Reed, they commented as, cause, the secretary, Reed was still asleep when they landed. So she just picked up the whole seat to the car seat and him in it and carried them out the plane.
Yeah.
And the people behind her were like, holy crap, I didn't even realize there was a baby in front of us. I was like, awesome. You did good.
Yeah.
I was like, that's where that heroin comes into play really nicely.
Great sleeping drug.
Yeah. So anyways, the flight out for them went really well. I ended up making it to Salt Lake City before they did.
Oh, really?
By about 10 minutes. And I say that because they landed before I did, but they couldn't get over to the rental car and get out with the rental car before I was past them.
That's funny.
So I got ahead of them 10 to 15 minutes. And then we met at a gas station in Provo.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I pulled into a gas station. I was like, hey, there's a Maverick in Provo. Usually they've got really big parking lots. This one did not.
Oh.
So I had to pull into this little motel behind the gas station. It had a massive parking lot. And as soon as I parked, the hotel manager comes over. He goes, sorry, you can't park here. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I can move. I was just going to be here for like 10 minutes. I'm meeting somebody and then we're taking off. And he goes, yeah, typically we don't let anybody park here. I was like, okay, no worries. I can move. He goes, no, it's okay. And I was like,
is it okay?
Is it okay? Or do you not want me to park here?
I'm going to call the cops.
Yeah. Right. So like
hang out as long as you want.
I kind of looked at him for a second and then I looked around the parking lot and it was completely empty. Like I was not taking up any of their space being there. And I was like, no, seriously, I can move and go somewhere else. Like the Walmart across the street has a massive parking lot. And the gas over there too, I can fill up there. And he goes, no, it's fine. We just don't typically let people park here. And I was like, well, do you want me to move or am I okay to park here? And he goes, you're fine right now. I just want to let you know that we don't typically let people. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, cool. Thanks, man. And I just turned around and walked away.
Yeah.
So that was funny. Well, all right, whatever. So we met up in Provo and then drove down. And for some reason, they took a weird route out of town. I don't know. I just follow Google, right? I'm bad at directions. I don't try and even fake making up that I know where I'm going. So I just follow Google, right?
Well, it's not, you just get on whatever the 15 and go south.
Pretty much. Yeah. We were, I think, half a mile from 15.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they got turned around, but I got out of Provo before they did. And I pulled into Moab about half an hour, 35 minutes before they did.
Okay.
So I don't know what happened. I don't know if they were just driving slow.
They were taking in the scenes.
Maybe it was almost night. It was nighttime. Like there's not too many scenes to take in as you're coming in at night.
Yeah. True.
So anyways, I started in Sacramento at 5 a.m. and we got to the Airbnb, which was freaking awesome. This Airbnb, I didn't know where it was because Airbnb doesn't tell you the address, right? They wait until like, I don't know, not 30 days. Whenever the owners of the Airbnb, the property you're renting, can choose when they tell you the address.
Okay.
So like we didn't get the address of the place until maybe a week out.
Wow. Okay.
But turns out the Airbnb was right next to the arena.
Sweet.
Like that fence that's on the arena in the dirt parking lot there. We were right on the other side of that fence.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we stayed at a house near that or in that same area last year.
Okay.
It was in that housing track.
Okay. The Tierra del Sol one.
And it was close enough to walk to the arena.
Yep.
But it was like we couldn't. Yeah. There's the gate to get through and we would cut through that gate.
Yep.
It was perfect.
Yeah. It was really nice. So apparently that's where Lee Lim and Delta Dave and Morgan, everybody stayed this year as well. Okay. So they were like 4 houses down from me.
Oh, they maybe stayed in the same house as last year. Which worked. And there was plenty of parking, which was great.
Yes. So the parking there was awesome, phenomenal. And like everybody that's in that little housing track, I'm pretty sure like that entire housing track is Airbnbs.
Maybe. If not, they're used to it being a rotating door.
Yeah. And so like the whole housing track just had nothing but off-road vehicles in there. So I was like, okay, this is a very OHV friendly Airbnb area in there. So it was cool. My neighbors ended up being some of the guys I was supposed to run Pritchett with on Friday.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
I had a slight issue and I had to go ask them for a screwdriver. Apparently I don't have a Phillips screwdriver in my tool bag. I don't know why, but I didn't have one.
Okay.
And so they were working on their FJ80s. And so I walked over and I was like, hey, do you guys have a Phillips screwdriver I can use real quick? And he goes, yeah. And then, so I got it. I did my thing. We'll get to that in a bit. And I gave it back to him and I was like, thanks, man. You know, that's a nice rig. You know, where are you guys from? Blah, blah, blah. Turns out he's owns a fabrication shop. And they were going to be running Pritchett on Friday. And I was like, hey, I'm running Pritchett on Friday. A little bit cool. So my neighbors were going to go run Pritchett with on Friday.
Sweet.
So
what fab shop do you remember?
99 Customs.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know those guys?
It's 99% or something like 99
I
Customs.
don't remember if a percent, but it was like 99 Customs.
Are they like some Latino group?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
No, I know them.
Cool. So anyways, they were my neighbors.
Yeah.
And then I had another neighbor on the other side. That was some Jeepers that they always come in the week after EJS.
Yeah.
To go run trails and everything.
Sure.
So I was chatting with them a little bit. But anyways, so I started at 5 a.m. in Sacramento, got into the Airbnb around, what was it, 8:30, 9 p.m.?
Hey, that's pretty good.
That's not bad, considering I made it to Salt Lake City first. Like, that was my goal. I wanted to either beat them to Salt Lake City, meet them in Salt Lake City, or they were going to have dinner somewhere between Salt Lake City and Moab. So my goal was to be able to meet up with them at dinner.
Sure.
And then I ended up beating them to Salt Lake City and then had dinner and just drove down to Moab, essentially with them, but without them because they took a weird route out of Provo. I don't know.
So you guys ate in Provo together?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So anyways, got down there. Pretty decent day. I mean, the drive was nice. That truck is amazing.
I bet.
I absolutely love the dually. It's a very, very expensive truck, but it makes long drives like that, towing stuff, very easy to do.
Yeah.
You don't get tired. You're not always stressed out over what the truck is doing, what the environment is like. It just handles everything beautifully. So I pretty much had cruise control on 80, which is most of the speed limit the whole way, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as I hit Reno, I bumped up to 75. And then once we got outside of Reno, the speed limit goes up to 80. So I just put cruise control on 80 all the way through. So that was fun. The drive out was awesome. Tuesday was kind of a free day.
Okay.
And so we were talking about what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go. And the secretary and her mom were both kind of like, we need a relaxing day from travel.
Okay.
And I was like, you mean a wasted day? Is that what you're saying? You need a wasted day in Moab?
Yeah.
All right, whatever. I want to go out. Like, I'm in Moab with a free day. I'm going to go do something.
Sure.
So I was going to hit up John Arns.
Yeah.
So John always goes down for the entire month of April and hangs out at one of the RV parks there. And he told me, he said, if you have a free day looking for something to do, let me know. Come over to the RV park, find me, and we'll go do anything you want.
Yeah.
I was like, sweet. So that was originally my plan for that free day. And then the father-in-law was kind of like, I want to go do something too.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, let's go do Top of the World. I'm totally comfortable doing Top of the World on my own.
Sure.
I know the trail really well. My kind of rule for Moab personally is I refuse to go on a trail or lead a trail I refuse to go on a trail without a guide unless I have done the trail more than twice with a guide.
Okay.
So 2 or more times with a guide. That's kind of my rule for Moab. So like I could go and do Top of the World or Metal Masher just fine. Any other trail out there though, I haven't done twice or more. So I'm like, any other trail I want a guide with, but Metal Masher is kind of an all day thing.
Yes.
Top of the World can be done in half a day.
Yeah.
So
it can. It's a little ways out there.
Yeah, it's a drive to get out to the trailhead.
But it can be done in half a day.
Yeah. So the father-in-law, he in college, he's a radio nerd now.
Yes.
But in college, he studied geology.
Oh, okay.
So
he's fully nerding out.
Totally nerding out the entire
he's
time.
Telling you why rocks are going up and down and not side to side and what the different striations mean and why they're different colors.
Yeah.
It's
There's apparently
geologist.
a fault line that goes right through Moab too.
Oh, I'm sure.
And he was pointing out every time he saw the fault line in the cliffs. And I was like, oh, I would have never noticed that before.
Yeah. That's his heaven right there. Okay.
So he was nerding out a lot. We went and ran Top of the World on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we left at like 11:30, something like that, and stopped at Giliberto's, got some burritos.
Nice.
And then headed out from there. And he got a kick out of the Dewey Bridge.
Yeah.
So the Dewey Bridge, I didn't realize they completely restored the bridge in 2000, in the year 2000.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Completely restored. Like it was all the wooden. It's a wire cable suspension bridge with a wooden deck.
Yes.
Essentially, right? And so they had repainted it. It looked beautiful. I just found some pictures recently of after the 2000 restoration, and it looked really cool. Now there's not a wood deck on it anymore. It's just hanging wires.
Yeah.
Right.
Big steel cables.
Yeah. Big steel cables from the suspension bridge part. Turns out in 2008, some kids were down playing in the grass underneath the bridge and started a fire.
Yeah.
And the wildfire that came out of that destroyed the wood,
burnt down
the wood part of the bridge. Yeah. So
I knew that story. I just didn't know it was as recent as like 2008. I thought it was way older.
No, yeah. 2000 restored and then 2008 burned down.
Dang.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, the Dewey Bridge is really cool. For those that don't know about the Dewey Bridge, it's one of like the original first ways to pass across the Colorado River from east to west.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, you read the sign and it's like, yeah, they engineered it not for specific weights. They engineered it to hold like 6 oxen, 2 carts, and a fully loaded carts. Like that's how they gauged their weight ratings of the bridge. So I thought that was kind of funny. But the Dewey Bridge, I mean, it's this really cool historical landmark. That's in the landmark database, I guess, for the United States historic landmarks.
It's got the seal or a little plaque on it.
Yep.
And then the big plaque talking about it.
Yep. So that was fun. I got to show him the Dewey Bridge and he got a kick out of that. And then literally as we're pulling into the trailhead there, we air down, right?
Yep.
Where the bridge and the bathroom is, there's 4 or 5 Land Cruisers sitting there. And immediately one of the people starts coming over to me and goes, Tyler. And I'm like, I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
Should I know who these people are? I don't know. Turns out it was Ryan Marley.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. So Gnarly Marley.
Yeah. Gnarly Marley.
Yeah. And some people from his group. So we pull in, I'm like, we'll just air down right here then and chat with them. So, they were Googling over the 4Runner, the new build on it, right? He hasn't seen it yet. The guys he was with were really cool. We were chatting for a while about, they were doing the Kokopelli Trail.
Oh.
So they started at, one end of the Kokopelli and were working their way to Cruise Moab.
Nice.
And they happened to be at that spot and we're heading down to a camp spot. Down on the Kokopelli for that night before they head over to registration the next day.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's one thing I want to do one year is the Kokopelli trail run.
Yeah. So anyways, got to see those guys, aired down, chatted with them for a bit, put a face to Ryan Marley.
Yeah. Good guy.
He's super rad. He's fun. Definitely a fun personality. So from there, they kind of took off at the same time we did. And so we were following each other up to the split for Kokopelli versus Top of the World.
Yep.
So we split off, went up to Top of the World. They split off, went to Kokopelli. And just starting to go up. And there's a spot where there's that double ledge, kind of where it starts getting to be difficult for Top of the World trail before the lollipop starts, right?
Yeah.
And so the double ledge is getting pretty dug out.
Oh.
And somebody's created bypasses on the right side.
Oh.
Which is I'm really ashamed about because there used to be that bypass, the fun bypass on the left side.
Yeah.
And it's all been shut down, right?
Okay.
It's all gated off now using wood timber to block it off. And I noticed that there was a track going off on the right side that goes up and around those 2 ledges. I'm like, guys, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I'm 99% sure that's an illegal bypass.
Yeah.
Like if you can't be doing these ledges here, then you probably shouldn't be on the trail. They're not difficult ledges. They're intimidating. And that's like all of Moab, right?
Yes.
All of Moab there's not a ton of really difficult stuff. Everything's just really intimidating and has high consequences if you fuck it up.
Yes.
Right. So I'm like, you guys just do the ledges. It's not hard. Like if you have a 4-wheel drive with a little bit of ground clearance, you can do those ledges. Right. You don't need a locker.
No. So, and that's one of the things I always liked about Top of the World is it's a sort of a mild to wild trail. Like you can choose the easier side of a ledge or you can try the difficult side of a ledge and then you can play anywhere in between.
Yeah.
And if you're not making the difficult side, try the middle area or try the far side as the easier side. And then you can just figure it out as you go up the mountain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. Some people, and that's one of my gripes, and I've said it numerous times on the podcast, where if you come to an obstacle that you can't pass, turn around.
or winch up it,
or winch up it, or
use the
solve
tools
it.
that you have. Yeah.
Don't drive around it another route.
Yeah.
Like that's the worst thing to do.
Yeah. That's how trails get shut down. BLM does not like that, especially in Moab, because then you're driving over the cryptobiotic soil.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's like the biggest thing. That's like the water stuff here in California.
Mm-hmm.
The cryptobiotic soil is that in Moab.
The snowy plover of Oceania dunes.
Exactly. Right. So anyways, disappointed to see the bypass at those two ledges. But I kind of got up on the ledges and then just kind of the tires were just spinning, all 4 tires. And I was crab walking left.
Yeah.
Until it grabbed traction and went up. And I knew that there's a big rock on my rear driver tire that I would eventually hit and would keep me from going left anymore. But as I'm crab walking, the father-in-law was like, are we supposed to be doing that? I was like, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, don't worry. And then eventually we hit that rock, grab traction, popped right up. No problem. But
Nice.
the whole time he was like, man, it's just this vehicle just makes it look super easy. I was like, yeah, the suspension is freaking awesome. This is the first time I'm wheeling in Moab with the wider axles and, almost double the articulation I had before. And it was fantastic. Like going up top of the road, I could have chosen any line I wanted.
Yeah.
And it would have been just fine, but I chose all kind of the medium difficulty lines.
Well, you're solo.
I was by myself, right? And there wasn't anybody. There was only 2 groups that we saw on there. One of them was definitely like stock Jeeps, a couple stock Gladiators. And then the other one was actually some pretty decently built Jeeps that were coming down. That group of Jeeps knew me. Or knew Morphlate really well.
Okay.
Because one of their good friends is one of the Morphlate reps out in Ohio area.
Oh, okay.
And so they were like, oh yeah, one of our good friends reps for you guys. And I was like,
ooh.
And I saw on the back of one of the Jeeps said Ohio Crawlers. I think Ohio 4x4 Crawlers, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it Laura? And they're like, yeah, Laura. And I was like, yeah, I'm the owner. Laura's one of our regional mobile dealers, our reps out in that area. They're like, that's so cool. And so they're like, what's your name? And I was like, Tyler. And so they ended up taking a picture of the rig and sending it to Laura. And then I messaged Laura when I got back in that evening. It was like, Laura, I ran into your friends. And she sent me the picture that they had sent her. She was like, I know, they told me.
That's funny.
So anyways, that was fun. And when we passed the stock group, it was funny. I kind of made a joke because like they're moving really slow and you could tell because everybody's outside of their rig spotting everybody else. So either they're having a good time or they're really struggling to get through. Right.
Yep.
And I think there was a little bit of both, but, I kind of made the joke. I was like, watch, we're going to get up to the top and hang out at the top for a little bit and then come down and they're not even going to be halfway.
Oh man. They're going really slow.
I was just looking at how they were behaving at this spot. I just kind of cracked that joke, not thinking it was really going to be true. I just joking. Right. And so, we continued on, ran into that other group with the decently built Jeeps, Laura's group, and then headed to the top. And I told my father-in-law, I was like, so here's the kind of the crazy thing about this trail. When you're coming up here, there's no signs, nothing to inform you that you're coming to a 2,000-foot cliff.
Yeah, right. A wall.
You just kind of
you can drive off of. Yeah.
And if you're, and it just looks like another, because you're going down these ledges, right? On top of you're mainly going up the ledges,
right?
Going up there. But like, I was like, you just kind of, as you're driving up, if you didn't know better, you'd think it's another ledge that you kind of have to go over. So
sort of,
I was like, I just want you to know that there's a 2,000-foot cliff somewhere. And your job is you need to tell me, try and see if you can figure out where it is.
Sure.
He failed. He
didn't know where it was.
He didn't pick up where the 2,000-foot cliff was.
Oh man.
I had to like drive up and I was like, anything seem weird about this area? He goes, no. I was like, okay, I'm going to keep driving. And so I drove up right to the edge. And as we're like 20 feet from the ledge, the spot where you kind of like start lining up to get on the point.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, is this the end? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. So I didn't get out, spotted it all. I didn't get out to look and line up to get on the point. I just kept driving.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I know where the point is. But I'm just going to keep driving and I'm just going to be very cautious.
Sure.
So I dropped it in double low and was looking out my window. And I got to the point where my front driver tire was like 3 to 4 feet from the edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is as comfortable as as far as I'm comfortable going. And so we get out and look, and on the passenger side was like the point. And so like on the passenger side was another 20 feet to go that I could have gone out on the point. But on the driver's side, I was like 3 to 4 feet from the ledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh, I didn't get that right.
No, you were too far a driver.
I was way too far a driver.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, that was funny. And so he gets out and he's like, oh my God, his mind is just blown from being up on top of this cliff.
Yeah.
And seeing the scenery and seeing everything. And he goes, why wouldn't you want to bring Reed up here? I was like, because over here. And so, I took him over to where the crack is on the left side.
Yeah.
And I kind of like showed him, I was like, just straddle that crack and look down it. And he was like, no, thank you. So he tried to take some pictures. Like, it was funny just because you know that feeling, right? As you get near the edge, you don't want to look over the edge.
Yeah.
And so he was trying to stand as far away from the edge as he could while stretching his arms out to get the camera over the edge.
Sure.
So anyways, it was fun. He got a big kick out of being on top of the world.
Yeah.
And while I was up there, I got a call from Brian. 4 Underground.
Okay.
Brian. And he goes, hey man, what are you doing? I was like, dude, I'm on top of the world right now.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, that's awesome. What's going on?
Happy to hear that. Yeah.
I'm happy to hear. Why are you so excited? And I was like, no, I'm literally on the trail on top of the world out at Moab, and I'm on the top of the world. He goes, oh, okay, that's funny. So I talked with Brian a little bit up there while we were up there, while the father-in-law was looking around. So we spent maybe 20 minutes up there and then headed back down. And sure as shit, we go down and the slow group was barely past the halfway point of the lollipop.
Oh man.
And so I was like, that's funny. I totally was just joking around, but it ended up being true.
Yeah. So they hadn't even hit the double edges yet?
They were of the lollipop. So the double edges are before
halfway up the lollipop.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I guess a quarter of the way around the lollipop, halfway up the left side. So anyways, yeah, so that was funny. As I was coming back down, like everybody stopped what they were doing, and I just went down because they were working their way around the easy side of a couple ledges. And so I just went straight down the hard part of the ledges. Yeah. And so everybody stops what they're doing and pulled out their phones and started recording me as I'm coming through.
They're like, look at this idiot.
Right. So that was funny. Seeing those guys again and having that joke prediction come true.
Yeah, that's funny.
But then we got back home, made it home before dinner.
Nice.
So we made it from the Airbnb at about 11:30, stopped to get lunch, made it out to the trailhead, spent some time talking with Marley, and then up to the top of the trail and back down to the Airbnb before 5:30. So less than 6 hours.
Nice. I think it takes me like 4 hours to go down that trail.
It's bumpy, dude.
It's bumpy. With leaf spring suspension, it's horrible.
I will say that the 4-wheel underground coilovers and links made coming down that so nice and easy, dude. It was nice.
I remember one year, I don't know if you were out with us, but we wheeled up to Top of the World on Wednesday with Dimitri.
Yes. I was
and he had the 200 series out. And I'm like, okay, we're going to go down now. I said, cool. So we started heading down and Dimitri just
took off.
Yeah. Just bombing down the mountain. He was at the trailhead. And I was 3/4 of the way down. Yeah. Or something like that.
I think he made it to dinner like an hour before us, something like an hour and a half, maybe something like that.
Like he was airing his tires up and I had like a quarter of the trail to go and then the dirt road out to pavement to go.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah. So that was similar. I think I pulled a similar pace coming down on the trail. And yeah, dude, the coilovers are so nice.
Yeah, I'm excited
out there for that.
Excited to get those under a rig.
Yeah. And there's a lot of trails out at Moab that you can go faster if your suspension can absorb all the the basketball sized shit everywhere. Right.
Yeah.
And so throughout the whole week, it was me going quite a bit faster than everybody else.
Sure.
And then having to stop and wait for everyone to catch up.
I understand, especially the next day or the following Thursday.
Pritchett, coming out of Pritchett.
Yeah. Oh, coming out of Pritchett, 100%.
16 miles of just basketball size shit everywhere.
Yeah. But I was thinking Fins and Things, which is a fairly basic trail.
Yeah.
And a yawn for Kermit.
Yeah. So that was Tuesday.
Yeah. So Wednesday's check-in.
And so Tuesday was the father-in-law's first time really ever wheeling.
Oh.
Doing any kind of off-roading in an extreme sense, right?
Okay.
And so he was like, this is pretty freaking awesome. And then at the same time, like leading up to Moab, he had started watching YouTube videos of some off-roading trails and got hooked on Trailmator.
Oh, yeah.
Rory with Trailmator, right?
Yeah.
So the whole time after Tuesday, the rest of the time, if we were in the Airbnb, we had Trailmator videos going on the TV because he was just enthralled with the off-roading and stuff that Rory does. So he's kind of hooked now. And I took him out on Metal Mash on Saturday. We'll get to that. But so that was Tuesday. Our free day went up to top of the world.
Well, Wednesday, maybe we'll have to get Rory on.
That would be, I totally think we can. Moreflate's going to end up sponsoring Rory.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that was supposed to go out, but it's going out anyways. We're working on a deal to help take care of him. Cool. He's just a really, really good dude, down to earth. He's not one of the YouTubers that's like, hey, look at me, I'm a YouTuber.
Right.
Right. He just wants to go out and help people and does some really cool stuff. And the ideas that he comes up with is fun, really cool to watch how his brain works. And his number one priority is trail advocacy, right?
Sure.
That's one of the reasons why he does a lot of the recovery stuff is so that he can get vehicles out of places where people shouldn't have been in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And offer that service so that the BLM and National Park Service in that area don't just start shutting everything down because people are idiots and don't realize what they're doing and leave a vehicle out somewhere. Right.
Right.
So he's always harping on the trail advocacy stuff. And so that's one of the reasons why we're going to end up partnering with him.
Cool.
So anyways, Wednesday was registration day.
Yep.
I went early in the morning, 8 a.m., right when they opened, and met all the guys from Cruise Moab and hanging out with them for a little bit. As I'm in line waiting to pull into the building, I put it in first gear and started pulling forward to pull into the building, and it popped out of first gear. The 4Runner did. And I'm like, that's weird. That's never happened before.
It's not supposed to do that.
Yeah, it's not supposed to do that. But I, need to get in the building for tech. So I kind of just threw it in the back of my mind. I was like, I'll look into it later. And pulled into the building, went through tech inspection, passed everything except my rear tail light on the driver's side because it's still shattered from, I broke it originally on Old Sluice.
Okay.
With Hussman.
Yeah.
I still blame Hussman for that. And then I broke it on, I shattered more of the lenses on Barrett Lake going through the S-turn buggy line, right?
Hussman's fault too, right?
Hussman's fault too that time. Yeah. Yep. So he didn't tell me I was going to be backing up into that wall. So anyways, they were like, hey, we're not going to fail you, but if you get a chance to find any like red tape, just go into like a Napa or something throughout the week and get some red tape, put it over as your lens. And I was like, interesting. Is that a rule out here that your lenses have to be intact? Because in California, it's just the bulb.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be the bulb has to be intact, which all the bulbs are intact. They all work. And he goes, I'm just going to tell you, get some red tape at some time throughout the week and you're fine. I was like, okay, fine. Yeah. Never did.
No.
But 4Runner passed everything just fine.
Nice. Did they check your horn?
No, they didn't.
Did they check your e-brake?
They did check the e-brake.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm really excited about the e-brake this year, the parking brake and those Willwood electronic parking brake calipers. Mm-hmm. Dude, they came in clutch so many times throughout the week.
Nice.
So nice to have those. But anyways, got registered, got everything done. While I was doing my registration, the Lexus, I think, that Descent had just built on the portals, the white one, rolled in right behind me.
Oh, nice.
So I was checking out that rig, talking with the owner about it. It is sexy.
So nice.
And I'm looking
Can you imagine how much money that rig cost?
That and the owner was like, this is its third iteration of being built now. And I'm like, this vehicle just came out last year. Like, how have you rebuilt it 3 times already?
Yeah.
I'm I'm like, how much money is this guy dumping? I mean, that vehicle alone is probably $95,000
off the lot.
Right.
And then just the portals,
25 grand,
20 ish grand.
And then the install of the portals, and then all the descent bumpers and armor on it. And I'm just like,
and tires,
and
that's that iteration. Who knows what he did before,
exactly, right?
Oh man.
But anyways, that I think out of all the vehicles at Cruise Moab this year, that was my favorite one.
Yeah,
that white.
That one's so awesome. I saw it at the Stellar Built party.
Oh, I didn't even see it there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in. So you were in the far left room. It was in the far right room.
God, I never went into that room. It was too loud. So.
Speaking of parties, I said I was going to do this, and I know we're an hour in. I forgot to do it. This Saturday is the Toyota powered meetup at Denaios.
Yes, Tacoma powered meetup.
Thank you, Tacoma powered meetup.
Or did they change it to Toyota powered?
I think they own Toyota powered also. Okay. Toyota powered, Tacoma powered, 4Runner powered. All the powers are out at Denaios this weekend. I'll be out there for a little bit. Are you going to go out there? Yeah, Tyler's going to be out there. I know a bunch of people are going to be out there. It's going to be a fun time. If you're going to be in the Roseville area or you got nothing going on Saturday, come out to Roseville Denaios. I think it goes from like 8 to 1 or something like that. And it'll be a fun time. Anyway, sorry, continue on. That's a awesome rig.
Yeah. So
really must be semi-local too.
Yeah. I don't remember where he said he's from, but he's in NorCal.
Okay.
So anyways, after looking at that vehicle, I was like, I'm lemon lawing a Bronco right now. And we're looking at vehicles that are this size with more creature comforts than, the Honda Passport or the Bronco has, or better creature comforts than the Bronco. And so I told the secretary, I was like, I think we need to add an LX 470, I think it's 550, whatever that vehicle is to it. And I was like, go look at that vehicle over there. So she went over and looked at it. She goes, it looks really expensive. I was like, I mean, yeah, but we should be getting like $65,000 back. So
yeah, but that one's like a notch up. What is Descent's Land Cruiser? The greenish colored one.
I think he has the 300 Lexus. The 600 Lexus, whatever. Yeah.
So I don't know
the
what
Land Cruiser 600.
Yeah, that one I think is in your price range.
Okay. I'll check it out then.
So, that's the one that Toyota Don was talking about when I interviewed Don. Because they made it smaller, so it's more the size of the Bronco.
Yeah.
And it's probably right around the same price range as the Bronco.
Yeah.
Where they then reintroduced the new Lexus, that really big, the new Land Cruiser, the really big one.
Yeah.
Which might be out of the price range of the Secretary, but I think whatever that teal green version that Descent has, would be the perfect segue or split from the Bronco.
And I found somebody at the event who had one of the new 250 Land Cruisers.
That's what it might be.
Is that what it is?
I think it is. Yeah.
And so they said they absolutely love it. So I think we're going to be adding those to our list to make sure we check out as well.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was Wednesday morning registration, got all that squared away. And then we went hiking out to Arches National Park.
Okay. Yeah.
And saw the Windows Arches and the Delicate Arch. And that was fun. We had the kiddo in the backpack, the hiking backpack. So it's funny when he's in the backpack because we get to certain points of the day, he wants his snacks. And so I'm hiking and pull a snack out and kind of throw it over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And he just grabs it. So I'm like, oh, he's still back there. Okay, cool.
So Brian Murphy got back to us. It is the Land Cruiser 250.
Nice.
And an MSRPs for right around 60.
Perfect. So we need to add that into my to-do list and look at those. So, Wednesday was hiking in Arches. Everything went great. It was I don't want to say a hot day. It was a nice day, but just there's no shade.
There's no shade.
Right.
There's no getting away.
That's my problem is direct sunlight.
You need a big hat.
Yeah.
A sombrero.
I need something, man. I need to figure out why my body just shuts down in direct sunlight anymore. So anyways, I felt great. I had a ton of energy in the morning. And by 2 PM, I was just like crashing.
Oh,
on the drive, to the Delicate Arch, I was just in the back seat, like, ugh, I don't feel good. This is not happening. And then Yeah, just going and hiking out to the viewpoint of the Delicate Arch. We didn't do the big hike out to the Delicate Arch. We just went to one of the viewpoints of it.
Sure.
And then we were trying to go around and find lunch spots, shaded lunch spots. There's like 3.
Is it called Delicate Arch because it gets super thin?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
it's big, right?
It's a big arch, and it's really weird. It's kind of like the Corona Arch over in Canyonlands because there's nothing around it. So it's like, how did this arch come to, like the Windows Arch was made because a little like hole had formed in the rock above, and sediment and shit gets in there and slowly swirls its way down until it works its way through the mountain and cliff and comes out on one side. That's how you ended up with that archway. But the Delicate Arch, there's nothing around. It's not attached. There's no cliff around it. There's nothing. It's standing by itself.
Yeah. There was a hill there.
At some point. Yeah.
And then that is the strongest rock
of
exactly,
that hill. Right? Yeah. So that's what's kind of cool about that. The Delicate Arch is that there's just, from our vantage point in our lifetime, it looks like there's nothing there that it was built out of. It's just there out in the middle of nothing. But yeah, over time, it was really neat also going to the parks and learning a little bit about the history of the center of the United States and Utah. Back in the day, I don't remember how many years ago, the whole center of the United States was one giant lake. A massive lake.
Long time ago.
And so as the waters started receding out of that area and it got less and less water and became a sort of marshy swamp area, that's where you got a lot of the dinosaur tracks out of there. And a lot of the fossils that come and stay in the sediment out there, right? And then it turned into desert just over time as we got on. So kind of learning about how that whole area was formed over time was kind of neat. And then, so that was Wednesday out at Arches. Thursday was Fins and Things.
Yeah. So
Fins and Things was really awesome. I've heard from everybody that Fins and Things is a really easy trail.
Yes.
So I'm kind of like, all right, this should be a good one to take the secretary and the baby on. Yeah. See how they do. On Tuesday, real quick. We're rewinding a little bit. On our way out to Top of the World.
Yes.
I turned on the air conditioning.
Oh yeah.
The AC. And I've thought that I had a power steering leak because I thought I was getting power steering fluid coming down kind of the front grill. So I thought it had to do something with one of my power steering lines going to my power steering cooler.
Okay.
And it's like all over my radiator right there on the passenger side of the radiator dripping down. So I'm thinking I've got a power steering line leak going out to the cooler or something. And when I pulled out of the trailer and was kind of let the rig sit in front of the house, I wasn't getting any more leaking coming down. And I checked I was like, well, shit, that's not good, right?
Yeah.
As long as you keep leaking, it's good.
You got fluid.
You got fluid. As soon as it stops leaking, it's like, no good. You need to look at stuff. And so I opened up the power steering reservoir and it was full.
Okay.
I'm like,
it healed itself.
It healed itself.
Yay.
And so anyways, going out to Top of the World, I didn't have an air conditioner. I was like, this thing is blowing hot air.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Okay.
And so I'm like, what is going on? I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, maybe there's a loose ground and it's like not kicking on the clutch for the air conditioner. What I think happened is I think that the oil and dripping I was getting was oil from the compressor, the air conditioner compressor or the condenser.
Oh.
Because it was kind of that same, it's the similar viscosity to power steering fluid.
Okay.
And so I think I blew a condenser line.
Maybe, yeah.
Or busted the air conditioner somehow. So the air conditioner was working at the end of summer last year, and the snow trips I took it on, it seemed like it was working. It was keeping the windows clear, but it wasn't ever really in sub-freezing temperatures.
Okay.
So I didn't really need the air conditioner to keep the windows clear. So I never, at some point the air conditioner stopped working. So I didn't have air conditioner, AC for the whole week. And so now fast forward to Thursday doing Fins and Things. We're having to do it with the windows open, and there's a nice breeze. It's great weather. So like we weren't ever really hot, but just the direct sunlight of that. And then being concerned about direct sunlight on the baby, as we're going through. So, because of that, we had to keep the baby's window rolled up quite a bit, and the back seat windows rolled up quite a bit. And so he did great. He didn't really mind the bouncing, the drops, the ledges, anything like that, but he was getting hot.
Yeah. Okay.
Just being in the car seat. So there's a bunch of times where we're stopped. Let's get out, get him out of the car seat and kind of let him air down and cool off. And you just pull him out and his back would just be drenched in sweat and you're trying to fan him off. So that kind of sucked. And then the trail itself is a very easy trail.
For the most part. Yeah.
But in my opinion, it's one of the more fun trails.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a lot of,
it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's not a difficult trail, but there are some fun obstacles in the middle of it. There's some fun ups, there's some fun downs, there's some corners that are off camber. It's an all around fun trail.
And it's not like one of those trails like Hell's Revenge can get kind of hairy in some spots. It's not a difficult trail, but there's some high risk spots, right?
Absolutely.
There's not really any high risk spots on Fins and Things. No. Like there was only one spot that I was kind of like, oh, if I fuck up here, that's bad.
Okay. Isn't there, I'm getting my trails mixed up, but was there a point on Fins and Things where you're going downhill and you're turning around like a cliff, a wall, and then there's like a cliff on the other side and you're on this like ledge? Or is that Hell's Revenge?
Noticed.
Okay. That must have been another one. That was the only part that I sort of remember that was semi-difficult.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple spots where, there's just a lot of really fun climbs on Fins and Things. And drops where you're just like, a vehicle should not be able to do these things, but it does because the traction is so awesome out there.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of the fun of it. And there were some points where you're doing a climb up onto a fin. So if you stay in it too long, you could go off the other side of the fin, but you just get to the top and then turn and now you're in line with the fin. Yes. So, as long as you're paying attention to that, it's just a really fun trail.
It is.
And apparently Fins and Things has 3 loops to it.
I knew of 2. I didn't know there was 3.
I thought there was only 2 as well, but I talked with one of the tour guides out there as I was airing down and she goes, which loop are you doing? And I was like, well, we're going to do this loop. There's a group in front of us that's doing this loop and then that loop. And she goes, okay, so you guys are starting on that loop. This other loop is the more popular one. That's where the fins part is. So she goes, all right, so we'll start on the 3rd loop and work our way through the other 2.
Interesting.
And I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not sure what that 3rd loop is, but she knows.
She knows.
So,
yeah.
Anyways, it's a really fun trail. There's a lot of that's just the climbs, right?
Yeah.
And the drops and the ledges. And it's very low risk. And you can do some really cool things with your vehicle that you would never think a vehicle could do.
It's a low risk, high entertainment trail.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So as of right now, Fins and Things might be my favorite trail.
Really?
At least the loop with the fins and things part. Like the loop we started on, I wasn't too excited about. I was like, this is just kind of a dirt bumpy road most of the time. There's a couple of fun climbs, but like that other loop with where all the fins part is, that has like 5 or 6 really gnarly steep climbs that are like 2 to 3 times the length of your vehicle.
Yeah.
Some good drops. You're up on these fins and you have to be there's one spot you had to be really careful about tire placement on the fins, but otherwise it was just kind of cool. So I remember the fins part of Fins and Things, I think is probably my favorite part of the trails in Moab right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did that trail, the very first trail of the very first time I've ever been to Moab, and I have not done it since.
Okay.
I don't think I have. And that was like 2018 or something. And I don't think I've done it since. And I just remember it was a lot of fun. Yeah. And I remember there's this one, you'll probably remember it. There's this one sandy area that you have to do like a 3-point turn on, and then there's just a wall that you go straight up, and you're like, what?
Yeah, what? Yep, I know
like,
that
I'm
spot.
not supposed to go up that. Like, that's not possible. But with the sandstone out there, you just have all the grip in the world, and you just put it in a low gear and go, you drive up it, and you're like, this is unreal.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. In my opinion, like in terms of scenery, I think Top of the World has it hands down. In terms of just low risk, high entertainment value for a trail, Fins and Things is awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So
I want to do it at night, but I don't know it well enough to do by myself. Like, I need somebody that knows the trail well, that can be like, we're going up this ledge, and at the top, you're going to need to turn driver.
Yeah.
Right. Because otherwise I'd drive off the trail and go probably somewhere I shouldn't.
Exactly.
But I think it'd be fun because now you're driving at night. You can't see the top, so you can't see the bottoms worse than during the day. So I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I would definitely, doing it at nighttime, I would want somebody at the top of every one of those climbs with a flashlight. That way just have some reference point of where the top of the thing is.
Go left. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, super fun trail. If nobody, I mean, and like if you're not used to wheeling at Moab, and that's the first trail you do like you did, it just blows your mind.
I think it's the best first trail ever. If you're going to Moab, it's your first time ever going, you need to hit Fins and Things first, because it's a major confidence boost, because you're like, what? The trail goes that way? Like, this is unreal. And then you go and do it, and you're like, wow, maybe my truck is invincible.
Exactly.
Like, I can do anything, but it really gives you a very entry level taste of what's capable out in Moab.
Yep.
And what's available in sights and scenery and obstacles and everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So super cool trail. 5 stars from me. Would definitely do it again. So that was Fins and Things on Thursday. Thursday night was vendor show night.
Okay.
And that was difficult for me because like I'm here as vacation. I'm here to do some wheeling, here to be a part of the event. I have the family with me. But I'm also here working.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And so while I was there at the vendor show, like I showed up half an hour before the vendor show was supposed to start, and I didn't have everything set up for the booth until like an hour into the vendor show because everybody's coming over to talk to me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I love talking with people. It was really fun catching up with people that I haven't seen in 2 years because I missed last year.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. But it's like, I need to figure out how to either section that part of the week out or just be okay with not setting up and socializing and everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
or just set a table up.
Like just have a simple table.
Super simple, not a huge booth or anything.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, that's what, like last year when I rolled up and I was selling and sharing my Snail Armor products, it was literally like a small table, a tablecloth, some t-shirts and stuff for SnailTrail4x4, my truck with my Snail Armor panel, and a few products. Yeah. And that was it. Yeah. I don't have a big old booth or anything. And for an event like that, it worked out really well because I wasn't doing, you don't need a major booth at that event. You need some presence, like to be there, to be present there. And that's really about it. And then to socialize and hang out.
Yeah.
But it's hard because we have so many friends, but then there's business that's still trying to happen.
Yeah.
And a few times I had people like wanting to just chat with me. And then I had somebody that wanted to talk about product. Yep. And I had to be like, I need, like, I love talking to you. I need to do business. Yep. And a lot of them are like, yeah, man, go ahead. Yeah. That's what I had to do.
And maybe that's what I'm really bad at. I'm really bad at ending conversations with people to prioritize other conversations maybe. But yeah, I don't know. I feel bad because I've been harping on the Moreflight employees that if we're going to go do these events, we can't just go and lose money. We can't just keep going to events and losing money on events, right? So we have to have some sort of return at the event. So there has to be some sort of sales, networking, something that comes out of the event that's worth going out to. Yeah. And so that's no different from me going to an event.
Right.
So, I'm just kind of like, I can't just tell them that and then not do it myself. So trying to find that balance between networking, socializing, being there on vacation versus working and trying to get sales to pay for the vacation.
Yeah.
That's the tricky balance part that I'm having trouble with. So
yeah, you get it.
Anyways,
you either need to do business or you need to be a spectator.
Yeah.
And, or a socializer. Right.
Yep.
And then, if you're going to be the socializer, then you need somebody there to do business.
Yeah. But it's not worth bringing another employee out for a 4-hour vendor show, right? Yeah. Over the week. So, I don't know. It's just something that I was struggling with after the show. I was like, man, because also like I had the big trailer with our product and all the booth stuff. So I towed that over to the arena, unloaded everything into the arena, and then had to park the truck and trailer next to the arena and then walk back to the Airbnb to get the 4Runner to bring the 4Runner around into the arena. So, it was
the outlaw. Or I mean, your father-in-law couldn't do it.
They all went out to dinner. So, yeah. So anyways, that was vendor night. It was fun. It was really fun catching up with everybody.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Quite a few listeners came up from the podcast and said hi. So that was cool seeing all those guys.
Yeah.
And then Friday was
Pritchett.
Yes. And
I'm ready.
Apparently they couldn't find a trail lead for Pritchett.
Oh, really?
So Thursday night at the vendor show, Justin came around and was like, hey dude, we can't find a trail lead for Pritchett. So we're canceling Pritchett tomorrow.
Oh, and
I was like, fuck no, you're not. I wanted to run Pritchett 2 years ago when Big Mike was leading it and Big Mike broke his rig and then we had Pritchett canceled and I almost killed myself on Moab Rim. So we're doing Pritchett, right? And then I didn't come last year. Jimmy got to do Pritchett and I didn't get to do Pritchett. So I'm doing Pritchett this year.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right, let me see what I can do.
Yeah.
After my little tantrum, right? So he walked around and found Richard.
Yeah.
Who you went with last year on Pritchett.
Yeah.
Really good driver.
He's really good.
Really good driver. He has I don't want to say a stock FJ80, but like it's pretty much stock.
Well, it's a stock FJ80 on 40s or something like that.
It's on 37s. I don't think it's on 40s.
They're pretty big.
I don't think they were bigger than mine.
Really?
Because I asked him afterwards, I was like, are you still running the stock radius arms and the rear arms and coils and everything? He goes, yep. It's like all the suspension stuff was stock. So he couldn't have fit 40s under it.
Unless he
tubbed
it.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He's the only person I've seen him do a line on Soup Bowl that I've never seen anybody ever do in my life.
Really?
And it was it was one of those, he was far driver going up Soup Bowl.
Okay.
Like almost in the out of bounds area.
Yeah.
And he went up the first ledge and he turned 90 degrees in Soup Bowl and drove at an angle straight through it.
What?
Like on the first ledge, just drove out of it.
Wow.
I was like, what?
I didn't know you could do that.
I have never seen anybody drive it that way. I've never seen anybody since.
I've never seen anybody drive it. They either try and go all the way up that buggy line, far driver, or go up and put their tire in the crack and then turn over.
Yeah. He got up in the first ledge, turned and drove straight out.
Wow. Okay.
Like, okay. That worked. Okay.
Yeah,
no body damage, nothing. Totally fine. He's a good driver. And he was the only one last year when I went on Pritchett that made it up all three of the major obstacles without needing to pull cable.
Yeah. He pulled cable a lot this year.
Okay.
But we'll get to that.
All right.
The crew that, cause he came over with Justin and Justin was like, hey guys, just want to introduce you to, because Richard still wants to go do Pritchett.
Okay.
And Tyler, you still want to go do Pritchett. So what we'll do is you guys can get together, go run Pritchett. Richard's done it before, so he knows how to get through Pritchett. But it's going to be an unofficial run. It's a private group of buddies that are getting together. It's not a TLCA Cruise Moab run anymore.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm fine with that. That takes away your guys' liability. I still get to go do Pritchett. So I'm cool with that. And so Richard went around and found other people that were supposed to be on Friday's run and just talked to them about it. They were like, hey, do you guys still want to go do Pritchett? How are you feeling about it? So we ended up getting 5 rigs together to go do Pritchett.
That's a good group. That's a good, we had like 12.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that would be too much in my opinion. 5 was a really good number for Pritchett, I think.
Which was some of the reasons, like up Chuck Hill, one of the first major obstacles you come to. It's like I 3 and out on it.
Oh, okay.
Now it's like I drove up. I didn't make it. I drove up. I started spinning tires, going a different way. I didn't make it. I tried it a third time, and I was like in a good, like didn't make it, but I was in a good spot. And I'm like, I'm perfectly lined up to where the winch point is right now. Just winch me up.
Gotcha.
Like, let's just winch up and get me out of here. There's 6 more rigs behind me.
Yeah.
Like,
let's keep going.
Let's just keep moving.
Yeah.
And now I pulled cable. Like, I felt there's a few times that I could have tried a few more times and maybe made it.
Yeah.
But it was to the point where I was 3 and out, and we needed to keep the group moving.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's the big point about big groups, right?
Yeah.
Is you just you don't get the chance to really work a hill that you may want to. Pritchett, I don't know where Upchuck was.
Okay.
I ended up pulling cable on 3 obstacles.
Sure.
Chewy, Rocker Knocker, and Axel Hill.
Maybe it was Chewy and not Upchuck or whatever. Maybe I have the name mixed up.
4. I pulled a cable on Son of Rockpile.
I don't know what that one was. Is that at the very end?
It's right before Yellow Hill.
Okay.
And so anyways, we'll go through them all. Pritchett is a really, really cool trail.
It is. Yeah.
The scenery of going down, it kind of reminded me of Cane Creek with less shade cover, right?
Okay.
Cane Creek, you're down following this creek, going back and forth across the creek over and over again, down in this wash in the bottom of this canyon for 80% of the trail, right? And that's really cool. And then for Pritchett, you're still kind of down in this wash, but a lot of times you're up on the wall. So you're not down where all the sandy, gnarly boulders are from this creek bed. There's no water flowing through it. But you're down in this canyon, and it's so cool to be just down in this canyon looking up, and you're just surrounded on all sides by these massive cliffs. Yeah. And it's this tight little canyon, right? So really cool trail to go run. And I don't want to say all the obstacles, all the mild obstacles, I was pretty much able to crawl. Yeah. Just fine. There's plenty of traction there.
What do you think of the start? If I remember the start, you're airing down at this, like right off the road. You kind of go down this little valley of sand. Yep. And then there's this drop. Yeah. Down into this sort of rock pile. Yeah. Or there's this obstacle that's like way off camber on the side of a ledge. Yeah. That like you're supposed to drive up and around and down. And I'm looking at that going like, I would roll. Like, how does anybody drive that thing? So I went down into the rocks and wheeled the rocks. I'm like, I know rocks. I can wheel rocks. Like, this isn't a problem. And I was like, nobody is going to do that line. And then all of a sudden these buggy Jeeps show up that just were like, and wheel this line. I'm like, that's nuts. Like, my truck is way too tall for that.
Yeah. I went straight down that spot and down into the rocky area, which if anybody watches Trailmater's videos, he calls that rock area cab over corner.
Oh yeah.
Because he found a cab over Jeep. I think it was an FC Jeep or something down there.
A forward control?
I think it was a forward control, but he was calling it cab over. And it just shredded its drive shaft down in those rocks. So he calls it cab over corner. So that's kind of the reference point if you guys know where that is. Okay. But it's this really cool spot that reminds me of Old Sluice. Yeah. So you come down this really gnarly, sandy, steep hill with a couple of rocks protruding that kind of create these mini ledges in it. And you have to come down off of this and make an immediate 90 into this tight little gorge that's barely wider than a vehicle. And then with these big boulders in it. And I'm like you, I'm like, I do rocks. This rig is built for slow articulation, high articulation, slow rock crawling. Yes. I don't really care about narrowness because as long as I can squeeze through it, it keeps my body. I'm so wide, it keeps my body away from stuff. So I was like, I should be able to stay away from that rock. And I know from Old Sluice that the safer spot to be is down next to the rock. Okay. Rather than farther away from the rock because that tips you over into the rock. Sure. Right. So I was like, that's fine. I should be able to just go right down there. And I think I can squeeze through. It's like barely. And I ended up rubbing my tires on both sides. Yeah. Reminded me of going through the Barrett Lake Gate. But I came down it. No problem. Got through the rocks. No problem. I never stopped once. I didn't like get hung up on anything. And And then everybody else that came through, a couple people were having issues getting through there. And I think it was just smaller tires.
Okay.
Less ground clearance to get through.
Because then Chewy is like right after that.
Chewy's right after.
Okay. So that's where what I said upchuck was, I meant Chewy.
Gotcha. So we're going through. We had Richard in his FJ80, me in the 4Runner.
Yep.
We had a guy named Daniel, who I think he was on the run with you last year. Gray, first gen 4Runner, 35s, leaf sprung.
Probably, maybe. I don't remember. This rig sounds familiar. I don't remember her name.
He was a really good driver, technical drive style, right?
Yeah.
He wants to go low, slow, and crawl everything and work his way through stuff. And then there was Grant. So do you remember when we did the trifecta, the red Tacoma?
Yeah.
He was back this year.
Okay.
Another super meticulous analytical driver that refuses to bump anything.
Yeah.
But makes it through stuff.
Sure.
So it was really cool to have him on the trail. And then Ben is a Canadian that brought down a 4-door Hilux.
Oh.
Mid-90s.
What?
Mid-90s 4-door Hilux.
I want one so bad.
Yeah. The whole time I'm just like, Jimmy is missing out on just mainly for this vehicle right here.
And is it the one that I know that Brian from 4 Wheel Underground has sponsored the suspension kit under one of those, or worked not sponsored, but has a suspension kit under one of those.
So it's a 4 Wheel Underground front end, 3-link front end.
I bet it's. Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah. And right hand drive.
Oh,
and
I want one.
He did a 3/4 swap in it, so it's got a 3/4 swap. And that truck, in my opinion, is like it's like a 2-door Tacoma, right? But lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the 4 Wheel Underground kit in it, I think he was on 40s, 38s or 40s, with the 3-link front suspension, 63s, Chevy 63s in the rear, articulation for days, the 3/4, and a lighter platform in that kind of 3rd-gen pickup style.
Yeah.
But
with
a 4 doors.
Yeah.
So he's got the wheelbase. Oh, that is the ultimate rock crawling vehicle in my opinion.
I want one.
It's like the ultimate vehicle for Moab. And
you want to do a trip to Belize with me and we can just buy 2 and drive them back?
I'm seriously thinking it like that.
Let's do it.
Watching Ben work, and Ben is a phenomenal driver.
So all of these people are great drivers except for you.
Pretty much. Yes,
yeah. Okay,
exactly.
Good.
I did well because I have set up the vehicle well.
Yeah.
I honestly felt like I was the worst driver there.
Oh, wow.
Like during that little gorge rock section, cab over corner, I probably did it the best, but that's only one little spot on Pritchett. Everything else in Pritchett is stuff that just goes against my fiber of being that you have to do.
You have to
get through Pritchett.
Hit it harder.
Yes.
Yes.
And
I think I started
line up your vehicle.
Yeah. I started learning that later and later and later on the trail because what I Chewy, I was just trying to crawl up it.
Yep.
I'm like, this is going to be easy.
Yeah.
But there was all these little ledges that just hang your tires up.
Yep.
And I didn't figure it out until later that you just have to give it more gas.
Yep.
And to carry your momentum over those things.
Yep, exactly. So my concern and what I'm deathly afraid of in climbs, because you see videos of it happening all the time, is when you launch your vehicle up these 30-foot walls that with ledges in the middle, that your front end is eventually going to hit one of those ledges and unload on you.
Yes.
And that feeling I've had multiple times in the 4Runner when it was on leaf springs.
Yes.
And I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
I haven't had really that feeling yet with the 4-wheel underground suspension.
Okay.
But it's still in the back of my mind, right? I'm having trouble getting over it. And so we got to Chewy and they were like, I watched Richard. Richard made it up the first half of Chewy to where there's kind of a shelf near the top on the left.
Yeah, and then you have to turn.
And then you have to turn once you get over it, when you get your front end over that shelf, and then you turn and head out, right?
Yeah.
He hit the shelf and almost kind of bounced upwards and backwards a little bit and came down more passenger than what he really wanted to be. So watching that happen, and he's on coils and radius arm suspension, I'm like, I don't want that to happen. No. I don't want to hit that shelf and go bouncing. And so he pulled cable from there and then drove. Did he drive out or did we have to hook up to the rock there on Chew? No, I think that was Axel Hill. We had to do that. So once he got past that shelf, he was able to drive out of it.
Okay.
Then I was next.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to crawl this. I'm not punching stuff. I'm not launching my vehicle.
Yeah.
I just don't do that. I like rock crawling, right?
Yeah.
High articulation, use all the gears. And it wasn't going.
No.
I'm just digging down in the bottom. My bumper's getting caught on the ground because
you didn't even make it past the bottom.
Not crawling.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I'm like, all right, let's just see how this goes. And so I'm trying to like launch it without going full commit.
Yeah.
Which is always, you can't do that in Moab. You have to commit to it. Right. But it just goes against every fiber of my being to do it. Right. Mm-hmm. And so finally I'm like trying to, play around with the dual cases, trying to figure out a wheel speed that works without going too much, because the other big thing that I'm concerned about is I have really big axles now.
Right.
Like really big axles. There's no way I should snap or ever have an issue with the axles.
No.
But I'm still have a 21 spline input between my T cases.
Yeah.
And that's my current fuse to my drivetrain.
More not your drive shaft, you don't think?
I don't know. I still have the Toyota U joints in the drive shaft, which are equivalent to, I think, 1330, 1350 U joints.
Okay.
Which are fairly small compared to my 1550s on my front end, right? And I don't know how thick the walls are on the drive shafts, though, that SAC Driveline built for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if my drive shaft is my weak point or that 21 spline input between the T case is the weak point.
Okay.
So I'm deathly afraid of launching a vehicle and then hopping it or falling back down the hill, grabbing traction and then snapping that 21 spline. That's all that I could think about the entire day as I'm doing these climbs. So I'm like, I'm just going to go. And so I think on my third attempt, I launched the vehicle and made it up to the top shelf. And instead of staying in it, as soon as I hit that shelf on my front end,
you let go.
I let go. And so I just kind of stopped there with my front end in that shelf. And I was like, hook me up. I'm fine here.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I think you made it farther than me. I think I was on the hill.
Okay.
I got like smack dab in the middle of the hill. There's a small little ledge that my rear tire couldn't climb. And I was just spinning all four, just walking back and forth on the hill, just trying to find traction. And eventually I was like, it's not going.
Yeah.
Let's just
hook it up.
Yeah. Just hook it up and go.
Yeah. So I made it up to that shelf. And I stayed on the line that I was trying to stay on. So I considered that a win because Richard made it up to the shelf, same spot, but he bounced and hopped over and got offline and then was like, I don't want to try going from here. Just winch me.
Yeah, sure.
So I was like, okay, that's good. And then Daniel was up next. Was it Daniel or was it Grant? I think it was Daniel. Daniel was up next. He tried to crawl it and couldn't get it crawled. And he didn't want to bump it. So we just kind of winched him up from there. Grant came up and he was able to, he ended up kind of crab walking almost far passenger on the hill. And we were like, now that's the steepest part, right? And he's got that big hangover with his Tacoma on the back end, the departure angle. So his bumper was getting caught in the ground and everything. So we just winched him up once we got him back over driver's side. And then I went to my car to grab a water and I was like, I want to see what Ben's truck can do with this.
Yeah.
And so I went back to the car to get a water thinking we're going to be there for a little bit longer, watching Ben work at Chewy. And so I go to the car, grab a water out of the ice chest, the fridge, and start walking back. And Ben's at the top of the fucking hill.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what happened?
How'd you do with that?
He goes, I just one shot it. And I was like, how? Like, I wanted to see what needed to happen in order to one shot Chewy.
Yeah.
And he goes, I just dropped it 4.7 second gear in the transmission and sent it. And I was like, but what line did you choose? Like, how did you?
Yeah.
He goes, I just lined up and went for it. I was like, oh, all right, whatever. You're useless.
Yeah. That's funny.
So I was like, well, that's a bummer. I wanted to see, like, in order to not winch Chewy, what do you got to do? Mm-hmm. Right. So I didn't ever get to see that.
Okay.
But we continued on. I think the next big obstacle was that ledge that you posted on Instagram of going down your rear end, go woo, flying up.
That scared me so bad.
Yeah.
If you listen to the audio in that, I just hammer down.
Yeah.
Because I can feel like I'm unloading.
Yep.
And I'm just like throttle to just pull myself through. And I've watched the video now like a dozen times.
Yeah.
I think my truck switched weight from passenger side to driver's side so fast because I throttled through. I think my both tires switched from one going off the ground to the other one going off the ground. Because I think you're rolling over a small hill and then there's a cliff.
Yep.
And I think my passenger or my driver tire was the one that lifted off the ground first because I tipped over the edge.
Yep.
Then I throttled through and then my driver tire came down. And when it did that, I think the passenger tire
came up,
jumped off the ledge and didn't touch the ledge at all. Just jumped off the ledge until my bumper hit the back. Yeah. Because it hit hard.
That was a hard hit when I saw that video.
Yeah.
The 4Runner did awesome there. I'm like 107-inch wheelbase, 106.
Oh, I think. Are you that short?
I'm short, and it's always deceiving because it's a 4-door vehicle. Yeah. So you would think it'd be a longer wheelbase, but like when we did the measurements, we've got Bobcat's measurements hanging on the wall. We still can't find out what I did.
We need to go back and find that episode where we talked about that.
I have a really short wheelbase. I'm like I'm a little longer than a 2-door JK.
Okay.
So
so you could make that corner better
with 45 degrees of steering as well.
Sure.
I could make that corner a lot better. So I was able to make the corner and line up for the straight drop. So I didn't lift a tire at all. Yeah. I have so much travel and articulation with that suspension. It's awesome.
I should have 3-pointed that.
Yeah. You might have needed to like 3 or 4 point because when Grant came down, he had to like 4-point it.
Yeah. I just 1-pointed it.
Yeah.
I just was like,
yeah.
I'm like, I'm so long, it's not going to matter. Oh, was I wrong?
Yeah. So after we came down right there, Richard comes over to me. He goes, Jimmy shit himself here at this corner last year. You need to ask him about it. I was like, okay. And then you posted the video of it without me even asking you about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I could see why.
Yeah. Yeah, I had my buddy Paul with me on that trip, and I think he walked ahead and he didn't see what I went through on the hill. And then I received that video later after the fact, and I showed him, and I was like, look at this. Yeah. And he was like, oh, shit, glad I wasn't in the car or the truck. I was like, yeah, you were lucky.
Yeah. So anyways, that was really funny. I think when Daniel went down that, he lifted a tire bad on the driver's side, and Ben ran over and grabbed his bumper and pulled it down.
Oh, wow.
And Richard was like, Ben, don't be doing that while people are moving. What are you doing? And Ben's like, I'm just trying to keep from going over.
Yeah.
So
that's dangerous.
Yeah. Anyways, we got through that. Everybody got through it just fine. And then we continued on. There's a couple little optional lines after that. And I picked a kind of a medium one to go up and just crawled right up. It was kind of fun. I got the front end up on top of the ledge and kind of worked side to side until I found traction, got up and torqued the rear end.
Yeah, it's down in this little valley, and you have like 10 different ways that you could go up. I tried one of the harder ones and I was too long.
Gotcha.
And then I put my tail between my legs. And I was like, I got a whole lot of trail to go. I'm going to go over to one of these easier ones.
So apparently right there at that spot, that's where Richard had to winch last year, right?
I don't think he had to winch at all.
He said he winched once last year and it wasn't on any of the named obstacles. And
maybe he high centered himself and he had to pull himself off.
I think he kind of like got high centered and his bumper was hung up so he couldn't back out of it.
Yeah. So, okay. That makes sense.
One of those lines there. So we got through that just fine. Next up, you're kind of going through the canyon. You still got these really fun ledges. Upchuck is somewhere in there. I don't know where it was, but I never pulled line.
Okay.
On any wherever Upchuck was. I didn't pull line.
No, then I didn't either.
Yeah. And then we get up and we show up at this obstacle called Axle Hill.
Okay.
And Axle Hill is down at the bottom of the wash. So you kind of come around over these rocks and you come down into the sandy area and it's pretty narrow, right? And then on your left-hand side, the left-hand wall of this wash is Axle Hill.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to get lined up for Axle Hill, you have to do a 3-point turn down in the sand of this wash. But Axle Hill, in my opinion, is the worst obstacle in Pritchett Canyon.
Oh, yeah?
It's a 24 foot ledge wall with tire marks burned into it. So like enough people have done it where there's a track that I'm wider than, so it keeps fucking me up. And you get up there and then there's a ledge at the top of this wall that's about half of a vehicle length.
Yes.
And then a complete 90-degree turn from there and another 6-7 foot ledge with just barely the right distance for a vehicle's tires to get on the corners of the edge and have a little ramp to get up it, right?
Yeah.
But you have to get lined up for that in order to get up that second ledge.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to get lined up for it on this little platform that's half a vehicle length.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I'm like looking at this thing. I'm like, how do you do this?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's no way that you can make it up Axel Hill in one shot. You have to get up the wall and then finagle your way around with a 15-point turn, Austin Powersing it to get yourself lined up to go up the next 6-foot ledge.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't even know if I can get up this wall. Like, I watched Richard do it and he hit it so hard that he slammed into the wall of the ledge.
Oh,
so like he got up the wall and then got his vehicle up into that little platform area, but slammed his bumper hard into the wall
on the other side. Oh man.
And I'm like, that's how hard you have to hit it to get up this thing? I was like, no, I'm not going to hit it that hard.
No, I don't think so.
Turns out I was able to get up into that platform without slamming my bumper into it.
Good job.
And I have such a nice 45 degrees of steering that apparently I was right on the ledge, the edge of the ramp on the passenger side to make it up the next ledge.
Okay.
And I was able to finagle the vehicle just enough to do that. But I couldn't get it over. Like I would get up on it and then it would slide off of that ramp every time. I couldn't get the tire to stick up on the ramp to get out. So I was like trying to work at getting up the wall, and eventually I had to do 4/7 second gear to launch the vehicle up. Right. But I couldn't get turned. And in my head, I'm thinking, man, if I had a front dig, just lock up the rears with that parking brake and just go and flip it over, and then I can make it up that ledge. But I'm sitting there thinking, all right, this is kind of what has to get done. You just have to be able to have a short wheelbase for this one, but short wheelbase getting up the wall is super fucking sketchy. And so I'm like, I don't know how you would do this. Like a long wheelbase can't get up into this platform area and make that turn.
I did it.
You did it. You didn't winch on Axel Hill?
Nope.
Fuck. That's crazy. So I winched, Richard winched, Daniel did not winch. So Daniel was really cool watching him. He pretty much crawled up the first wall. And he got to the top and couldn't get into the platform area.
Okay.
He was kind of stuck with all four wheels spinning on the wall, and he was just kind of going back and forth within the tire tracks. But he couldn't get up it. Right. And so finally he started going, shifting passenger and then turn hard driver to try and get it to use momentum, crab walk momentum.
Yeah.
To grab traction outside of the tire tracks to push him up higher. And he eventually made it work.
Oh, wow.
And it was the first time I've ever seen somebody using momentum crab walking to get up a wall.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that was really cool to watch him do that. I was like, I've never seen that before. Cool. That was neat. And then because he did that without launching the vehicle into the platform area, he was actually able to have a really good line to catch the ramp.
Start turning faster than everybody else or earlier than everybody else. Yeah.
So he was able to catch it and crawl up. So that was really cool to watch. I think Grant, I don't remember if he winched there or not, but he tried to do the same thing that Daniel did, and I don't think he was successful at doing it. And then Ben rolls up, and that guy, man, this truck is just awesome, and he's a really good driver. So watching him work it in such a way that he's going to try and one-shot it. He's not going to try and technical crawl it and get up into the platform, then finagle his way up the second ledge of the 90 degree. He's going to send it from the bottom of the wall to the top of the 90 degree turn.
Okay.
And I'm like, there's no way. It's not physically possible.
Yeah.
Not in that. Maybe like in an Ultra 4 car, right? Maybe in a buggy or something. But not in that truck.
Yeah.
That's not going to do it.
Sure.
How do you send it in second gear rev limit from the bottom of the wall and make sure that your tire catches that tiny little corner ramp on the 90-degree 6-foot ledge to be able to continue going up at all. There's no way. I don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
On like his 4th or 5th attempt, he did it.
No way.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Okay. You just sent it.
He just sent it. And I was like, how did you know that you're on the right line? He goes, I didn't. He goes, I just figured I had it lined up. My passenger looked like it was pointed somewhere near that ramp. And I was like, yeah, but like, if you catch that ramp too far passenger, you're going down a 30-foot cliff and you're rolling off it. Like, how did you know that you weren't going to catch it past too far passenger and hit it the way you did? He goes, I didn't. I was like, do you have a cage? He goes, no. I'm like, what?
So it was good knowing him.
Yeah.
He's got another year or so to live.
Oh my God. Yeah. Phenomenal driver. Balls of steel.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this as I'm watching him do it. I'm like, that's what you have to do this obstacle.
One shot it.
I'll winch it every time.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly happy winching this. I'm no problem.
Yeah. As Justin from Factor 55 says, use the tools you got. And a winch is one of those tools.
Yep.
For sure.
So anyways, Axel Hill, in my opinion, was the most like, how do you do this?
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of thing. I couldn't figure it out. And then I watched Ben do it and I'm like, nope, I'm winching every time. Like Chewy, I can see a line up Chewy. I could see myself getting up Chewy without having to winch.
Yes.
I just need more practice at it.
Okay. Yeah.
Rocker knocker. I can see a line up rocker knocker.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure I could do it. I just need more practice at it. Axel Hill, I'm like, there's no fucking way. And then you're saying you did it?
I did it. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I don't exactly, I don't exactly remember that obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
And from that side, because of that, I'm like, it couldn't have been that bad. Because I don't really I don't remember it. I only pulled cable twice on Chewy and on one of the obstacles after Rocker Knocker, after there's like 3 really hard obstacles right after Rocker Knocker on the way out before the last really big tall climb.
Yeah.
The very first one, or maybe the second one of those, I pulled cable.
Okay.
I don't remember the names of those.
Yeah.
That was it.
Huh.
I didn't pull cable on Rocker Knocker because I wasn't in a position to pull cable.
Yeah. Got it. So anyways, Axel Hill, I'm kind of like, man, that's in my opinion, the sketchiest obstacle in Pritchett, but you did it just fine. So maybe you just need a long wheelbase. Maybe that's the trick for
one
it.
Helps.
Yeah. Anyways, after, I don't remember if Rocker Knocker was before Axel Hill or not. But I'm standing up, lining up for Rocker Knocker. And I'm like, okay, I can see the line of crab walking the ledge, right? So you get up on this ledge, you put your front passenger way up on the wall. Your front driver is kind of down on a ledge and your rear driver and passenger are on the bottom ledge. And you just kind of crab walk sideways until you get into the hole of Rocker Knocker and the pivot rock, right? I'm like, okay, I can see that. That's fine. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I can do that. I'm wide enough. I don't think I would feel super sketchy on it. And I'm like, I could do that. But it also looks like you can just drive right into the hole.
Right up it. It does.
Rocker Knocker.
I tried that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I tried.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a short enough wheelbase where I should be able to get my ass end up on the ledge. Before my front tires fall into that hole.
Yeah. So I fell into the hole.
Yeah. And so I'm like, pretty sure that should happen. And I'm a taller vehicle, right? I've got a lot of ground clearance. I should be able to just barely, I think, clear the pivot rock.
Okay.
So I'm like, why should I go up and crab walk this thing when I'm pretty sure I think I can get into the position from below without crab walking?
Yeah.
Nope. Doesn't work.
Nope. I tried it too. Didn't work. I also thought the far passenger side looked like a doable way. If you literally straight up.
Yeah. So I watched a dirt bike go straight up that thing.
Yeah.
He popped a wheelie the entire way up and I was like, that dude has balls.
Yeah.
But anyways, that line didn't look too bad. I wouldn't try it in a shorter wheelbase. If I had Bobcat, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, I think I have enough ground clearance and I'm short enough wheelbase to make Rocker Knocker work without doing the crab walk. So I got up in there and my tire wasn't exactly in the hole, but my slider was stuck on the pivot rock. And I had such a high ground clearance that I was kind of over the pivot rock.
Oh, interesting.
And so what happened was I got to a point where I couldn't back down off the obstacle because my rear tire would have gone up on the rock that kind of gets behind your rear bumper, your driver bumper area. And my front tire, if I had backed up, would have gone up on the pivot rock.
Okay. Yeah.
And so backing up would have tipped me over on my passenger side.
Sure.
And so I'm like, well, shit, I'm not going forward because I'm kind of hung up on this. And I'm like, but my tire isn't down in the hole. I had gotten my front passenger, I think far enough up on the rock. I was just couldn't get pivoted.
Yeah.
And so I ended up pulling cable. And as soon as I was able to pivot the vehicle, like I didn't even really pull forward much, but as soon as I pivoted the vehicle, my front driver tire was now in the hole and started grabbing and climbing.
Oh.
And I was able to get out of it. I just needed help getting pivoted.
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
I wonder if you would have started a little bit more passenger and turned into it so that your rock slider hit the pivot rock. If it would have,
I needed to be just a tiny, like 6 inches higher on the pivot rock.
Yeah.
And so that obstacle really reminds me of Soup Bowl.
Okay.
Where you kind of just have to go high to begin with, so that when you fall over onto the pivot rock, the rock that catches you, it's far enough beyond your slider where you can drive out of it still.
Yeah.
And I just missed that point by, I'm guessing 6-7 inches.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll have to try that again sometime.
Yeah. I pulled cable on Rocker Knocker, but I'm definitely like, I'm disappointed about that one. Cause I'm 99% sure I can get Rocker Knocker.
Yeah.
I can do the crab walk line. I'm pretty sure. But I think I can do it by driving up and the way I wanted to.
Right. Yeah. See, when I hit Rocker Knocker, I was trying the crab walk.
Yeah.
But I think I'm so long that my rear end was still pushing me up the hill, not sliding sideways. And my front tires were just still falling. And so and then my suspension, cause I'm on leaf springs, unloaded and tipped me over.
Yeah.
And I was just so off camber. Yeah. And I honestly, cause I had my buddy Paul in the passenger seat who weighs probably 200 pounds. And I honestly think if he wasn't in there that I might've rolled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cause it was just I was just so unloaded and off. And then, Richard was there. I was the last one to go up. I think everybody assumed I wasn't going to have a problem. Yeah. So all the rigs were up. Richard was the only one there kind of guiding me through it. And he's like, hey, like when I was off camber and messed up, I was like, hey, he's like, do you want a hand? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, do you have a strap? And I said, yeah, it's in the truck bed right there in the front corner. He's like, I'm going to step on your tire to climb into your bed.
Don't move.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I was like, get ready to jump off if like we're going to go. And as soon as he stepped on the tire, the whole truck leveled out. Wow. And I was like, I think I could drive out of it now. Like I'm in a way more comfortable position. Yeah. And, just continue to stand on my tire as I drive, please. Yeah, right. Which no, we didn't do that. But he grabbed the strap and then he strapped it to my, the bed rack that I have, which didn't have the RTT on it. Yeah. And like 3 guys came down and they just put some tension on it and then I drove through. Wow. Nice. So it was just, I was at that point where it was like, just pushed me a little too far. But then once my suspension leveled out, everything was gravy from there. Yeah. Grant and Ben, who had the trucks, right? Yeah. I think he's around 121 inch wheelbase. Okay. And I think Ben is 123, 121. And I'm like 124. And you're 124. So you're right there too. They both had issues with that where they were climbing rather than crab walking. Yes. And they really had to work at it to get the vehicles to crab walk. Ben was kind of funny because he got to the point where he was kind of in the hole and then he blew an airline on his lockers. And so immediately, as soon as it happened, I was like, well, there goes an airline. And everybody was like, how'd you know that so quick? I was like, that's what I do for a living. Yeah. I know airline leaks pretty well. And so I popped his hood open real quick and looked, and sure enough, right at the ARB, his line popped, which is a very common issue because ARBs just get really fucking hot. Yeah. And so, he just cut
the line and put it back on and hose clamped it.
Yeah.
And then he goes, just pull me cable from here and it's fine. I was like, you're actually in a really good position. Like he was far enough up on the wall with his front passenger because of the long wheelbase. I was like, I'm pretty sure you could get this. You can drive out of this. Like you're down in the hole enough on your passenger. He was really tipsy.
Yeah.
Where his passenger tire was almost on the pivot rock with his sidewall, and his front passenger tire was like way up on the wall. I was like, I'm pretty sure you can use your sidewall to climb out of this, man. Yeah. He goes, all right, I'll try it for a little bit and see what, and he just got in, dropped it in low and was able to go and popped right out of it. Daniel, watching him do it was really fun. Because again, slow technical, he just sits there and spins all 4 tires and works at it until he finds traction.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only ever seen one person do that really well, where you're just making 1 inch of progress at a time until you get through the obstacle. And I was watching Randy Slauson work the box on Winch Hill 3.
Sure.
And so Daniel was able to do that and kind of ended up doing the same thing that Ben did. Got really high up, really tipsy, and was able to use the sidewall of his tire to climb the pivot rock almost on the inside of that hole. And then Grant, I think he ended up getting stuck down in the hole and wasn't able to get out.
Got it.
So that was fun. Rocker Knocker was really interesting.
Yeah.
I know it's a fun one. I think it's definitely very doable, and that's definitely one I want to go back and try again.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we already talked about Axel Hill. So last
okay,
one.
So Axel Hill is after Rocker.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
If it's before or after.
I think it is after.
You think it's after?
If it's the one, I'm trying to imagine the one that you're talking about. And you're in this like canyon, this really tight, narrow canyon, and you have to turn.
It has to be after, because at the top of Axel Hill, you can see the next 3 obstacles, which are Yellow Hill, the last one, and Rock Pile, and Son of Rock Pile, and another one.
Yeah. Okay.
So Axel, I'm pretty sure, is after Rocker Knocker.
Or before, because you can see the last 3 from the top.
After Rocker Knocker.
But it's not part of, Axel Hill's not part of those last 3, right?
Correct.
So it's before Rocker Knocker.
I think you can see the last 3 from the top of Axel Hill.
Oh. I thought you could never. Okay. I don't know the trail well enough.
Yeah, I don't either. I've only done it once, right? So I just know the names of the obstacles. I need
a TV here with Onyx
map. God dang it. So anyways, we got to the final 3. The first one, I didn't have any issues on. I didn't know what it was or anything. I just crawled right up it.
It's just a rock climby uphill, and then you got to turn right at the top.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
The second one is like a steep climb.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a hole on the left that you kind of drop into, but you got to hit it hard enough to carry your momentum through the hole as you're turning passenger to get up and like through over the top of the hill, right?
I don't remember turning passenger, but everything else sounds right. That one had a ton of basketball-sized rocks at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Is that?
And it was a steep.
Oh yeah.
That's the one I had to pull cable on.
Okay. So that one is called Son of Rock Pile.
Okay.
The real rock pile is right there in the gorge that you're in. There's like a big rock wall on your left side. Rock pile is on the other side of that rock wall.
Okay.
So that rock wall is kind of the center of the gorge, and Son of Rock Pile is the one that everybody goes up, because the rock pile is like a true bogey line.
Yeah.
To get up.
Okay.
So my issue, pretty much everybody made it up Son of Rock Pile without winching except me.
Oh.
And Richard just did the Moab bump to get up, and then everybody else crawled it. But my problem was being too wide.
Oh.
So I was so wide that I couldn't get my passenger side up the wall on the passenger side far enough. And my driver's side was on the other side of the point.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like a point right there. And then
there was a cliff
hole
that you had to climb, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that isn't where I pulled.
Okay.
I made it up that one.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, if you're narrower, that one's, I don't want to say easy to get up. You still, it's got to work out.
You just had to Moab bump it.
Yeah. So I'm so wide though that I couldn't fit up it. And I was kind of on the other side of the point on the driver's side, which puts me in the hole if I come back down.
Right.
So I was like, all right, I got to commit. I got to get up this thing and go. And so I lined up kind of favoring more of the wall. And at the other part is about a vehicle and a half length. Once you get on top of it is a giant rock, and you have to get driver as you're coming out of it to go on the trail. And so I'm kind of lined up, and I'm like, I'm just going to send it. I'm going to commit on this one. It's going to be fine. And I go up, and I started turning driver a little too soon. And my rear driver fell off of the point. And I ended up on my rear diff. On the point. And so I'm literally sitting there. I'm like, I'm not going back down. Like, if I go back down, I'm rolling over backwards, like, because I'm in this hole now. And so I'm sitting there spinning all 4 tires. And like, you can just see the smoke going up. I was like, I'm electing a pope right now, which is a bad joke right now. But, and everyone's just sitting there, like, watching me, not saying anything. And so I start slowing down the tires. I'm like, I'm not stopping the tires because I don't know what I'm caught on. All I know is that all 4 tires are spinning, and I'm not going backwards, but I'm not going forward. So I don't know if stopping the tires is going to make me go backwards, fall down off this cliff into this hole. So it's like, I'm not going to stop spinning my tires. What do I need to do? And they're kind of looking, they're like, I mean, it's kind of cool to watch, but you're just on your rear diff. And I was like, if I stop spinning my tires, am I going to go down? And they're like, I don't know. Only one way to find out. Yeah. So I start slowing down the RPMs gradually, until I can feel if the vehicle is going to start going backwards. And it didn't, luckily. I got caught there on my rear diff. My rear diff held me up. And so I said, all right, I'm not going backwards. Winch me forwards. Just hook me up to that rock and I'm going to go. And so all I needed was to get up so that my tire just got traction. Got traction on the ledge, the rear driver. Sure.
So I think the obstacle right after that is where I winched.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. It was just a ramp, a very steep ramp, and then it had some rockiness at the top, and then you had to turn passenger to get over it.
That might be Axel Hill. We'll have to look up a picture of Axel Hill on our TV right here.
Yeah, right.
Show you. So anyways,
it was one of the 3.
Yeah. And
it was right before the big
Yellow Hill. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I was Axel Hill then. Okay. I don't know. We got to take a look at pictures and stuff and the videos and see what you were doing and how things are going. Anyways, the rest of it pretty much from there on out is just Yellow Hill, which is just a giant wall ramp that you have to go up. And I was like, I do not want to full send this.
Yeah.
I was like, I know that if I can make it the first 15, 20 feet, that's where it goes from 60 degrees to like 45 degrees, right? And that's where you have a bunch of traction. All the rubber dust is on that first 60-degree section. And that's what you have to get past before you really start getting traction. And so I was trying, and it's such an extreme angle. I would make it up 5-6 feet, and then fall back down on my bumper. Yeah. Make it up, fall back down on my bumper. They're like, you just need more momentum. You're there. You just need more momentum. And I'm like, I don't want it. This goes against everything that I feel. So finally I was like, all right, here we go. So I just dropped it and I did the same thing that I did on Chewy. But this time I was like, I'm hitting the rev limiter and I'm not letting off until I'm level again. I'm like, we're just going to see what happens. I'm either going to roll and destroy the rig or making it to the top. And I did it, and it got past the first 15, 20 feet section. As soon as the front grabbed, I could feel the grab all of a sudden, and then just continued on out. But I was like, I'm staying on the rev limiter. I don't care. I'm not going backwards. Made it out. And that was Pritchett, really. The rest of it is 16 miles of basketball sized bumps and whatnot.
Dirt road for the most part out to, whatever that main highway is. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. It's such a wild trail.
It's crazy. And it's stuff that I'm not used to doing wheeling. Right. Yes. And I'm not comfortable doing it because I'm not used to it. And I didn't know what needed to be done. I didn't have a visual in my mind of what needs to happen in order to accomplish these obstacles.
I get that.
Now that I have an idea in my mind of what needs to happen to accomplish them, I kind of want to go back and see if now it's like a puzzle, a challenge to me. Right. Sure. I want to go back and see if I can be more successful at it. But at the same time, I still don't know I don't think I like that style of wheeling. Yeah. Unless I have a cage.
Yes, I get that.
So
yeah, because when I was sideways on Rocker Knocker, and I was like, there's a high probability that we're gonna tip at this point.
Yeah.
And we're just going to fall into the lower rock below the pivot rock.
Yeah.
And it's going to crunch the top of my roof right at my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that feeling in what you just described was pretty much how I was all day long in Pritchett.
Kind of. Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I know what needs to get done, I think I can do all the obstacles except Axel Hill. Like, I'm just not willing to do what needs to get done at Axel Hill in order to make it up that without winching.
Okay.
Like that's more, I need a cage. I need a front dig.
Yeah.
In order to do Axel Hill the way I want to do. I'm not just going to launch my vehicle all the way up Axel Hill. That's the way Ben did. I'm like, I don't have the balls for it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder where Axel Hill is. If it was in one of those major 3 obstacles right after.
I'm pretty sure it was because it's down. I mean, you're just in the bottom of this gorge.
Yeah. We'll look it up later. But that's awesome. Glad you survived.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming back to the podcast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a wild trail.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun. Now you need to go hit Rusty Nail.
Yeah. That one I think would be a lot of fun.
Rusty Nail's fun. It's a lot of ledges, big ledges that you have to climb. Very short trail. Same general idea. I would say it's probably a little easier than Pritchett.
Okay.
Minorly.
Okay.
But I mean, but it's a fun obstacle.
Okay.
Fun, very short trail, but very technical.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really fun.
So that was Friday in Pritchett.
Nice. Sounds like a fun time.
It was a lot of fun. I definitely want to go back. Super fun crew. Really good dudes. All of them phenomenal drivers. I honestly feel like I was the worst driver there. Or at least I didn't have the best. I didn't have the biggest. I had the smallest balls there, I guess.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe that was it.
Saturday was the Morphlite Metal Masher run.
Yep.
And that's the trail like Metal Masher and Top of the World. That's the ones I seem to do every year.
Metal Masher is a lot of fun.
It's got
something for everybody. Mm-hmm. It's also one of those that I feel is for the most part, it's a low risk, high entertainment, rewarding trail with a fun lookout.
Yeah. It's got a really cool lookout up at the top. So I took the father-in-law on that one.
Okay.
And he had a good time. And that one was the one that I was really looking forward to comparing versus the 4Runner pre-axle and suspension, right?
Okay. Because you've done Metal Masher like 2 or 3 times on leaf springs.
Yep. And Toyota axles.
Yeah. And Toyota axles. And now you're hodgepodge Tundra 60 axles and 4-wheel underground suspension, 3-linked front and rear.
Yeah. And in my opinion, Metal Masher is slightly harder than Top of the World.
Yeah.
There's a few more obstacles where you can really kind of get off camber and some things you have to bump to get up and et cetera. So, it was a cakewalk for the 4Runner compared to the 4Runner pre axles and suspension.
Yeah. Okay.
There was a couple spots I remember on that trail, specifically in those spots where I was like, it felt really tipsy before, and it just, everything was planted.
Nice.
So the 4Runner definitely now, is way better than it was before.
Nice. Happy to hear that.
Yeah. The 4-wheel underground suspension is phenomenal. I did not get my springs on my coilovers swapped out before the trip.
Okay.
So, the whole time I'm out there, I could just hear the springs rubbing on the shock bodies. I'm like, oh, I should have swapped these out. I should have made time. The other thing that's going on is my unit bearings, my wheel bearings are squeaking. And I'm like, these are F250 unit bearings. Like, they're designed to have way more weight and stress than what I'm putting under them.
Well, yes, and you're also putting them into situations that an F250 is probably not going into.
Yeah, but I mean,
but your weight is lower.
I'm way lower, right? And I've only had them in there for a year.
True.
And I didn't do a ton of wheeling last year.
That's also true.
So, I need to pull the tires and wheels off and take a look at the unit bearings and see why they're squeaking. I would assume that they got oiled or greased or whatever when they got put on by Ori, but maybe they didn't.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
I don't even know. I'm pretty sure those are like sealed wheel bearings too.
Yeah.
So like, I don't even know if you can oil them or grease them at all.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I gotta take it apart and look at them and see why they're squealing. But let's see. So that on metal masher, right before the waterfall, there's that kind of, you're coming around the tight turn on the left side, then you have to do this little double ledge and then make another tight turn and go up the waterfall.
Yep.
That double ledge there, I had trouble.
Oh.
And I think I was just trying, I was figuring I was so wide.
Yeah.
Like being so narrow before, I could fit in between the second ledge and the rock on the passenger side and just climb it no problem. But I'm so wide now that I chose to try and go up the passenger side rock than the double ledge.
Okay.
On the driver's side. And the rear didn't want to climb.
Interesting.
And so I was up on the rock trying to go, and the rear driver was kind of hopping as it was grabbing the first ledge. And I was like, I don't want to hop. So I stopped and I came down and I slid down the rock on the passenger side and came down hard on the slider.
Oh.
I did that twice. And then my father-in-law couldn't get out the passenger door for lunch.
That's funny.
So we had to, I told him just push harder. And so, yeah, both sliders now rub on the doors. So I think what I'm going to end up doing, looking around at the sliders, the previous owner welded them straight to the frame and tried to use like rebar as a gusset.
Interesting. Okay.
And the rebar is like, so you have your post that comes out of the frame, right? That goes out to the slider.
Yeah.
Typically you want to gusset sliders on the top.
Yes.
Right. Between the frame here and the top of the post coming out to hold the slider.
Yeah.
He put rebar triangulated like outwards, sideways from the slider, as in like the force of the slider is going to be the same direction as the body of the vehicle, the frame, rather than like
that doesn't
vertically, right? So the rebar doesn't
That's
really
going to work as an impact.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, the rebar isn't stronger than the DOM posts.
No.
So
you got to rebuild some sliders.
I need to cut the sliders off.
Yeah.
And put actual frame plates on and proper gussets, and then put the sliders back on.
Got it.
A little bit lower too. I think I'm going to drop them a little bit lower on the frame.
Okay. Nice.
So that's on the to-do list. I went after inspection. Remember I said tech inspection, I'm popping out of first gear.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
So I got back home from the tech inspection before we went to Arches, and I started playing around with the shifter. I was like, this feels really loose. Like, what's going on? And so I put my hand down kind of on the shifter boot, but like pushed down into the hole to the transmission, and I'm pulling on the shifter, and I could feel the fucking plate popping upwards as I'm pulling it down to like second gear.
Got it.
The whole plate is popping upwards.
Yeah.
So I'm like, shit. That's why I needed a Phillips screwdriver to take off my shifter boots that I had made out of neoprene wetsuit. Took that off to look down, and sure as hell, I only had 2 bolts in my shifter plate on my transmission and the rear of the plate, and both of those were super loose.
Oh wow!
So I'm
all those were coming loose and out.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I don't think I have any other bolts for this. So I took one that was on the rear and put them both caddy corner from each other, right? And then tightened down.
Yep.
And then it felt solid again. I was like, okay, cool. I think that's what the problem was of it popping out of gear. I wasn't getting the shifter far enough into gear. So about partway through the day on Saturday, I started popping out of first gear again, and I felt down, and sure as hell, I could feel the shifter plate popping up. Under the shifter boot. And I'm like, God, again?
Yeah.
And so one of the holes is stripped. So I need to drill it out and helicoil it.
Sure.
But I didn't pull the shifter boots back off to look at it. I was like, I just need to know that if I'm in first gear, I need to hold it there while I'm doing whatever I'm doing. So I need to fix that now. Yeah. The sliders,
air conditioner,
the springs on the coilovers. And then
you want me to write this list down for you?
I have a list.
Okay.
I've been sending things to Dave Pfeiffer. So The LED whips that I put on.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, I was a little concerned with how much leverage is up there with those bouncing around, that back air directional foil was going to stress out the rivets into the roof and the structure of the cab right there.
Sure.
And that all held great.
Oh,
it doesn't feel any more loose. It's still nice and tight. However, the riv nuts that I put in to bolt the brackets I made into the airfoil thing, those failed on one of the whips.
Oh, wow.
The riv nuts failed. So I think I'm just going to use bolts and Loctite on those.
It's aluminum?
Yeah, I can't weld them.
Yeah.
So I can't weld them. Somebody else probably could. So that I need to fix that. And I dropped a drive shaft again.
What?
My front drive shaft came off of my fucking transfer case.
Really?
On Metal Masher, like at the beginning of the day.
Wow.
So we're going down kind of the beginning of the trail. After you make the turn off of Gemini Bridges Road onto Metal Masher, I started feeling this underneath the rig. And I'm like, that's new. That shouldn't be doing that. I don't know what it is. So I stopped real quick and started looking around, and I only had one bolt in my front drive shaft again. And it was loose.
Huh.
So I need to come up with some other solution. Maybe I'm just going to start fucking Loctiting those.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I had that happen last time I was out on Fordyce with Hussman last year.
Right.
Except I dropped all 4 bolts and I didn't have a front drive anymore. This time I still had drive and I caught it with 1 bolt remaining in there, but put 3 more bolts in, torqued it down, and
or maybe you just need to add that to your checklist.
Maybe just add it to my checklist. I don't know what it is about drive shaft bolts for me. That drive shaft bolt on the flange between the front drive shaft and the transfer case, I cannot get those to stay tight.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. But yeah,
once you using like factory drive shaft bolts?
The Trail Gear drive shaft bolts.
Okay.
Because I don't want to pay $30 per drive shaft bolt from Toyota anymore.
Yeah. Well, but maybe.
I know, right? Maybe I need to.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's the quote unquote carnage.
Okay.
From the trip. So really not bad. I didn't break anything major. The most concerning thing is the shifter on the transmission, I think. But I'm going to have Dave pull the transmission T cases anyways and reseal everything. So he said that he would helicoil that 1 bolt and get everything back in. So that leads me to a think tank of, if I'm going to be pulling the transmission in T cases, do I take the opportunity and try and fix the problem of the 21 spline input possibly being my fuse?
It's a good question. So the 21, do you have to change the internal one, or is it just the external one? Or
it's the internal one from the front case to the rear case.
Got it. But the rear case, you're going to leave 21?
I mean, if you change it, it has to be 23.
Has to be 23 all the way back.
Yeah, it has to be a 23 input all the way back.
I mean, I would.
Yeah.
If you're going to be ripping it apart anyway to reseal everything, it's going to be a part. The parts are probably, I mean, maybe $600.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, so it's an expensive part, 2 parts for the most part but it's the safety net. Is you're making it a little stronger. You're making it a little beefier. You've got really big axles. You've got an upgraded engine. You're on more or less a stock transmission, stock T cases.
Yep.
I mean, I would do whatever I can to make my drive shaft the fuse.
The drive shaft fuse. So that's kind of what I was thinking. I was talking with Dave a little bit about it because I really want a front dig.
Okay.
And I've been wanting a front dig for a long time. So if I got rid of the Toyota cases,
yes,
and went with like a 241, 205 doubler, or a 4-speed Atlas,
yep,
I would get rid of the 21 spline input issue for the Toyota cases and get a front dig at the same time.
Yep.
But then where does that move my fuse to? And according to Dave, it moves the fuse to the transmission input because the input coming out of the transmission into your engine necks down in the middle for that transmission. So it's 23 spline at the spline parts on both ends, and the bearing in the transmission spline into the engine, but it necks down in the center there.
Okay.
So it's actually quite a bit smaller than 23 spline.
Interesting.
And he said, if you bump up your 23 spline in your Toyota cases, you're going to make your fuse that transmission input. Or if I go with a 205, 241 doubler, or an Atlas, he goes, your transmission input is going to be your fuse. So I'm like, how do I modify and make my drive shafts the fuse without making them too much weaker?
Yeah.
Right.
You put thin wall
drive shaft.
Yeah.
I don't really drive on my drive shafts too much, especially now with the links in the rear, the lower links, right? And the lower links in the front, they kind of protect the drive shaft. So yeah, maybe that's the answer. Go to, I don't know. I've got to decide if I want to just take it out and put it back in, or take it out, put a 23 spline input in, or take it out altogether and throw in a 4-speed Atlas or a 205.
How much are 4-speed Atlases?
About $5,000-$6,000.
Yeah. And would you have to, is there a 4-speed Atlas that connects to the 150 transmission?
There's adapter plates. Yeah.
I mean, so you're spending $4,000 more or ish to get a front dig.
And beef up the T cases. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, for another $1,000, you can beef up the T cases.
True. Yeah, I guess.
So for $5,000 for an Atlas, or $1,000 to beef up the T cases, you're looking at, it's $4,000 to get front dig.
Yeah. And I know that people
it's worth it. Do it.
All right. I'm kind of like, with the 45 degrees of steering, like up here on Fordyce and Rubicon, I haven't found too many situations where the front dig is really necessary. But there's been a couple situations in Moab where I'm like, front dig would be really nice right here. So if I want to continue going back to Moab, I've realized that I need to get used to sending the vehicle, right, and committing to the Moab bump.
Yeah.
And in order to ease my mind about that, I want to get rid of that possible fuse in between my transfer cases, the 21 spline, and then being able to do a front dig in Moab. There's a lot of places where it's useful.
There is. Yeah.
So, that's kind of next on my thought process, and a cage, for the 4Runner after this trip.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, it's kind of like, how much do I really want to go down this road of doing this for a trip I do once a year?
Well, I think a cage is a good solution, or a good thing to have regardless.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, no matter what, it's a good safety thing to have.
Yeah.
I know that it's funny because first gen 4Runner Dave, as soon as he came back from Moab, he's like, I'm putting a cage in this thing. Right? Yeah. Whatever it is about Moab and all the off camber that you get in Moab, you're always like, I need a cage.
Yeah.
I'm in stupid situations out in Moab. I need a cage.
Yeah.
And I agree. We're getting to the point, and I know we've said this before, where it's like we're doing stupider and stupider things with our vehicles. We need to have cages. Yeah. And we had a listener write in, more or less saying that you should have a cage at any age. It doesn't age and cage isn't the answer. It should be like, I'm going off-roading, you should have a cage. That's
a very fair point.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to try and commit myself to, during the time between fall and winter this year, I think I'm going to have a cage built.
Okay.
And then it's just a matter of, for now, I need to reseal the transfer cases, because if once I get the transfer cases resealed, then I can clean off the whole undercarriage and paint everything and keep the rust from spreading and get rid of all the rust. Right.
Yeah.
And I need to do that, I think, before the summer, quote unquote, summer wheeling stuff happens. So I kind of need to decide if I just want to have the transfer cases resealed, put back in, or do I want to try and get a front dig while I'm in this process right now for the next month?
Yeah. I know that Trail Gear made an adapter thing.
There's a couple people that do it.
Output of the output of the T case that separates it.
Yeah. And that one for the rear T case, it's great. I've heard a lot of people have good success with it. There's another company that makes it as well. But everybody who makes it makes straight spline. It's straight spline gears, for it, which means it makes quite a bit of noise when you're driving on the road.
Got it.
And I'm trying to stay away from that.
Sure.
So if anybody out there knows of a rear drive shaft disconnect for the Toyota transfer cases that doesn't make a lot of noise on road driving, let me know.
Okay.
I'd be definitely curious. So I would love to get a front dig option.
That would be great. Mm-hmm. And if you know that option, you can always phone in 916-345-4744 and tell us on a voicemail, and we'll talk about that on our snail mail segments, or you can DM Tyler at 4x4 Toyota Tyler on Instagram. Or maybe the best way to get a hold of him might be to email him at tyler@morflate.com, which he also has Tyler at SnailTrail4x4.com, but he checks the Morflate one more often.
I have a lot of emails, so I mainly check the Morflate one every day. The other ones are kind of like whenever I get to them. It's a fun trip in Moab. I love going to see Moab. Not happy about getting Moab lung this time. I didn't really get it any other year. It was really fun catching up with people that I haven't seen in a year. So it was a good trip overall.
Nice. Yeah. Moab's always a blast. I'm sad that I wasn't able to attend this year. But it makes sense for my life at the moment. And it would have came right after that, our Easter party, and it just would have been all chaos. But I'm really hoping to get out there next year. I know it's a love affair with Moab, and I think next year with Samantha was going to be a lot of fun to try and see some of those differences. Yeah. But we'll see how it goes. So I'm glad to hear you had a great time. Mm-hmm. How did the trip home go? Did you beat them home?
They beat me home by about 40 minutes.
Okay.
I left Moab 3 hours before they did. So they made it home in 40 minutes before I did, but I beat Google.
Oh, there you go.
I made it home before the Google time by about 10 minutes from when I left Moab. So
nice.
Yeah.
And did you do all the fill ups in Nevada before you came across state line?
No, I filled up in Wendover, which is right at the beginning of the Salt Flats, or at the end of the Salt Flats if you're coming from Moab. Wendover, and then Lovelock.
Okay.
I think something like that. And then I made it all the way home from Lovelock with like 200 miles left.
Got it.
So I love that truck. I absolutely love that truck. So
nice. I need the lane assist and adaptive cruise control and Clifford. So if somebody knows how to do that, please let me know.
Yep.
Jimmy at SnailTrail4x4.com or SnailTrail4x4 on Instagram.
Yep. I like it. That's good stuff. Jimmy, any final words for everybody out there to finish up this long ass episode?
Yeah. Sorry about that, but we had a lot of catching up to do and listen to fun stories of Moab. I think it's the close of this one is pretty much Cage. It sounds like both of us need one.
Yeah, Cage for sure. And I'm going to leave this as my final words.
Oh,
Moab might be getting a GMRS repeater soon.
Ooh, cool.
I'll just leave that there for now. And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I've said this one in the past before we started going through all these joke book thing, card thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be able to get this one. I'm pretty sure you know it.
Okay.
All right.
You have too much faith in me.
No, you know this one. Why did the bike fall over?
Why did the bike fall over?
Yep. Why did the bicycle fall over?
I don't know.
Because it was too tired.
Yeah, that's fair.
If it was 3 tired, it'd stay up.
Yeah.
Yeah.